wires tangled loose and frayed, screens glued and the hook once stayed. Code whisper secrets deep in the night, tech warriors battle a fading light. Carey and Doug with the wisdom they bring, sparks fly sharp like a pendulum swing. Through the noise, the truth they find, fixing the world one bite at a time. Hum low, circuit screen pain, motherboards cracked, it's a tech domain. Challenges rise like ghosts in the air, but they've got answers, they're fully aware. Carey and Doug with the wisdom they bring, sparks fly sharp like a pendulum swing. Through the noise, the truth they find, fixing the world one bite at a time. Carey and Doug with the wisdom they bring, sparks fly sharp like a pendulum swing. Through the noise, the truth they find, fixing the world one bite at a time.
Welcome in, everybody, to our latest live broadcast. Our guest today, Mr. Doug Betts from Live Windows Training with Doug Betts here on YouTube. We're both computer technicians for over 3 decades in different parts of the country, but with the same challenges and both technical challenges and business-related challenges. And we both have YouTube channels. And today it is the 19th of August, 2025. And please give a warm welcome to our friend Doug Betts. Welcome in, Doug.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you here, and I'm always looking forward to our discussions. And we always encourage you, the audience, to pop in the chat at any time if you have questions for us, and we'll do our best to provide answers.
All right.
So our agenda for today. I know one thing on the agenda. We talk about the Synology. you have an agenda.
Well, you sent it to me. It came by courier this morning.
That was a pigeon, and it didn't come from me.
It dropped it. It dropped it on the patio along with a blob.
Yeah, it dropped something on the patio.
Go ahead.
Was there any topic of interest that you wanted to take a poke at today?
No, I've got no agenda. So when you said the word agenda, my mind was just blank.
No pressure. We do these shows live, unscripted, and unrehearsed. So Doug has no idea what I'm going to say. I have no idea what he's going to say. Anything can happen.
Including pigeons.
Which already has.
Yeah.
Be grateful they're not vultures yet. So, count your pigeon. Don't count your pigeons before they hatch.
All right.
Something like that. Making me hungry for pigeon wings.
Oh, well, see, I was just trying to avoid getting graphic about what the pigeon left for me. And you're talking about the other end of the digestive system.
We're all familiar.
Yeah.
I think the pigeon is the state bird for Arizona. I wasn't aware there were other birds. Wait, that thing flies and it's not a pigeon? What is that? All right. So,
well, I'll kick off with saying hello to some people. So Scott, Alice, Parker Morris, I see, and let's see, Jeff Ryman, Ken Stout. Hello to all of yous. Scrolling. Phil Stodd. And I think that is my list at this point. I think I cut everybody I see there. Bobby Warren, you're up. Carey.
Katrina H saying hello, and Scott checking in. I see Al J and David Graham saying hello. Papo 7575 and Dennis joining us. Of course, Mara's hanging out there in the chat room, our channel administrator. And Jeff Ryman says hello. Eddie Casanova, Mark Baggett, 3D Everything, Charlie Purdy, our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, also sent an Amazon gift card prior to the show and a very generous PayPal contribution yesterday. A shout out and a huge thank you to our friend Buster out there in Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland. Andy W6AD joining us, and LJ along with, well, there's Ken Stout, Parker Morris, Mark Gaines. Mark joins us from Northern Ireland, Mark Baggett. And I'm going to go through this real quickly here. Hello to everybody joining. And remember, if you have questions for us during the show, please do put them in the chat at any point, and we will try to get to them as quickly as possible, possibly with opposing different answers that will fully confuse you. You're going to have to pick the Doug fix, the Carey fix, or what's behind door number 3, which could be a goat.
Good luck with that.
So a while back, I've been doing a lot with network attached storage lately. And in my career, network attached storage has been a boon for me and my customers in that it saves me a lot of maintenance work with traditional servers. They're much easier, much simpler, much more reliable, take up less footprint on the desk. You don't need a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor, less security issues. You just turn them on and they run. I mean, it's so reliable, and I don't trust them. Don't get me wrong. I've been around technology enough that I know not to trust it. It does require, like any technology, regular auditing or babysitting. You check in on it, make sure I haven't heard anything. Is everything okay? Even if I have, am getting logs and updates, I still log into it to see what updates or logs I'm not getting. Sometimes there are updates waiting that are part of a different package that aren't included in the logs. But that's not something I do daily, just once every couple months, or maybe once a month, depending on how the NAS is being used. So whether it's Synology or QNAP or ASUS Store or TerraMaster, what I've got deployed out for my business clients are both QNAPs and Synologies. Those two tend to have the most polished operating systems. Many of these clients did at one point have servers, and we don't have servers anymore. We got rid of them. We put the NAS in place, and everything's been butterflies and I don't know what the expression is. It's
Rainbows?
got bacon. Everything's butter and bacon. So, anyway, so my understanding, Doug, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you don't have much experience with using network attached storage in your line of work.
That's correct. I have zero
Zero.
NAS at my client offices.
Do any of your clients run servers?
Yes.
Okay. So what I found, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It is potential. There is potential for that among my clients, and I would have to say the reason why I don't have NASs is because, as I think back, it seems to me that in most cases my clients have already had their systems in place when they became clients of mine. And if I didn't have a significant reason to move them over to something else, then I wouldn't be addressing that. Also, the ones that have file servers have commonly had some software that required a full file server. Now, I do have, as my client implementations have changed a little bit, some of them no longer have the software that requires an actual file server, and perhaps network attached storage would do for them. I've also had some that have had that kind of a conversion where they've gone all the way from a server to cloud-based systems. And in those cases, in some cases, we still have the server on site that's just servicing as file storage, but they're getting a little long in the tooth, and even operating systems that are no longer supported. So when we switch over for them, I think it's quite likely that we may go to network attached storage. So it's not that I've ever been opposed to it. It just hasn't become a thing.
Well, I'm going to use the example I give a lot with, essentially I had a client one time who did not have a car. I had to go on site for them. I thought it was weird in Phoenix for somebody to not have a car, but lived in a house. I said, why don't you have a car? And they said, well, I don't have a car because I don't go anywhere.
Oh.
I think you don't go anywhere because you don't have a car. I had clients that that were still using dial-up. In fact, it was just something in the news recently that AOL started to shut down their dial-up service just now.
Yeah.
That were still over 100,000 people still using dial-up around the country. And I remember asking this gentleman, I think he had Juno, and he was on dial-up, and I was there fixing a computer issue, and obviously I can't do that work remotely on dial-up. I said, why are you using dial-up? And he goes, well, because I don't really use the internet for anything other than email. I go, I think you only use the internet for email because you have dial-up. I think the reason that you're not using a NAS is because you've never had a NAS to use. That's where I was going with that, but we'll see. We'll see. So what I think a good way to start, my recommendation is set the NAS up for your own personal use. See what it can do, see what it offers. Oh, he's pointing at it. Does it have drives in it?
There's one drive in it that I put in it while I was setting it up during a live show, but I'm not utilizing it yet. I
Okay.
do have, that still is on my agenda, but at the moment we haven't got into this topic yet. I'm very, very much overwhelmed with my to-do list these days.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so that just doesn't take priority.
No, of course not. When you have time, and I think you got to be in the right
Yeah.
state of mind. You got to be ready.
Yeah.
It's sort of like eating when you're not hungry. It's not enjoyable. So I would say set it up for personal use. You can run it with one drive. Ideally, you'll put two, because that's a 2-bay, isn't it?
4.
Oh, it's a 4-bay. So you can run it with 1 to 4 drives. You need 3 drives to set it up with a RAID 5 array. So if you're planning to set that up for data redundancy, you definitely want at least 3 drives, or you can set it up in a RAID 1 mirror where one drive copies everything the other one does, and you just lose all that storage space of the second drive. It's not available to you. But when you're learning and that stuff's not important with regards to having data redundancy, even 1 drive is all you need.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think it's highly likely that my first real run with it is probably going to be with a client, because I have a specific client in mind. And here's a question that I have for you. We have currently 2 Windows servers in place right now, and each of those have mirrored drives for the boot drives and mirrored drives for the data drives. And they have, I want to say each of those servers is only 1 terabyte of data. Now, this all evolved over time. Let's not get into why do you have 2 servers and why are so small. But what we have currently is 2 servers, a boot drive mirrored, data drives mirrored. What I'm thinking that I'm attracted to is to put a rack mount NAS in place with 2 pairs of mirrored drives. Now, the reason why I like going with mirrored drives for them is that, the RAID 5, you can add drives as you need them. This company does not grow very rapidly in storage needs. So I'm thinking if I start with like 4 terabytes of space on each of those, that pair of mirrored drives, that's going to be way overkill for their needs, because they're currently 1 terabyte is accommodating their needs. Now, the reason why I'm attracted to mirrored drives, because what I'm doing with their servers now is I will take out one of their mirrored drives and replace it with a spare mirrored drive. That gives me an image backup just very instantly, easily, without any software involved. So I'm wondering, can I do that same thing with a NAS, have 2 sets of mirrored drives? And what do you think about that approach?
Well, without fully understanding the logic if we break it down, if we do the math on this, I can't wrap my head around why anybody would do that. That doesn't mean there's not reasons. When I find people like to put partitions all over their hard drive, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, why would you do that when you could create a folder without limiting yourself to how much space? So if I were to take a big giant C drive, and I created a D and an E and an F, and I partitioned out, I need this much for D and this much for E, I will never be right about predicting which one of those drives is going to run out of space. That requires me to run drive partitioning software in order to resize the partitions. And sooner or later, I will run into the voluntary wall I created for myself. But if I made a folder, just one big partition on C drive, made a folder, and if it made me feel better, I'll call the folder drive D. Then I've got the entire space of the C drive without any limitation. There's no data security there. There's no ease of backup there. I can't wrap my head around why anybody would do that today. I know why we did it 20 years ago. Now, if you, moving this to the NAS, let's say you've got a rack mounted NAS and it's got 4 drives. You can set up volume 1 as a RAID 1 and volume 2 is a RAID 1. And then you can assign or map a drive letter. This will be drive G and this will be drive H. Well, why not just use, what's the point? I mean, why not just have 2 drives? What do you need the other 2 drives for?
I may not. And this has been on my mind as an alternative. And as we approach this conversation right now, that option had kind of dropped off of my mind. But that is a viable option.
If you have a motorcycle, how many flat tires can you have? 2, right?
Facetious.
You only have 2 wheels.
You.
2 wheels.
Is there a sidecar?
No sidecar.
All right, Doug, stop being.
But there is a clown car, and the clown car has 4 wheels.
It's got me seated in it. All right.
So what are the odds of you having a flat tire on a vehicle with 2 wheels? And what are your odds of having a tire issue on a vehicle with 4 wheels, 4 tires?
Yeah, I understand. I understand your argument there.
Okay.
I am not arguing against.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to.
It is still on my plate.
I'm trying to show you the work, right?
Yeah.
I don't want you to just agree blindly. I want you to see, how am I getting to this? Why am I saying this? And maybe you already know. I don't know until I tell you. So in my opinion, the simpler and less complicated you keep it, the cheaper it is, the easier it is to maintain. You're less likely going to have problems with it. So if you think 4 terabytes is enough, times 4, well, then just get 2 8-terabyte drives. Now you've simplified it and you mirror them. And if you want to, you can create a folder and call it drive H and create another folder, call it drive G. There's no more bootable stuff you have to worry about, right? Because the NAS boots on its own. So these are just data folders. That's all they're ever going to be. And then the NAS itself has some software on it, just like your cell phone does. There'll be a little package in a center, or basically it would be like going to the Apple store or the Galaxy, well, not the Galaxy. So what do they call it? Samsung, whatever Android calls their Google's
Google Play Store?
Yeah, thank you. And when you look through the Google Play Store, you have all these apps to choose from. Serious apps, stupid apps, apps that are out to get you. On the Apple Store, Apple has to qualify every app. So you have fewer apps to choose from, but those apps are less likely going to cause you harm. Well, in the world of NAS, Synology is closer to Apple in that they've been around a really long time, over 20 years, which is a lot longer than other competitors. And so they've had a lot of time to polish and refine their operating system called the Disk Station Manager, or DSM. As a result, the Synology is typically the one people want to use because it offers you the best stability, not the best hardware. You know, Apple doesn't sell the best hardware either, but what they're offering you is that polished operating system. And Apple's doing the same thing. If you want the polished Mac OS, you have to buy an Apple computer. That's without the OS, the computer doesn't need to exist. Apple is truly a software company that builds hardware to run their software. And I feel like Synology, especially now in 2025, they're sort of taking a page from Apple on that. So without losing track here, you can only use 2 of the drives in a 4-bay NAS. You don't have to fill them up. And I'm not sure, me personally, I would start with a client as the guinea pig, but I mean, that's your choice. And I'm always happy to help you if you run into any issues or questions. I'm a phone call away.
My impression so far is I just don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Well, it depends how you want to, like, depends on the needs of the client.
Yeah.
So if a client, for example, I see K Cordius Technologies asking about Active Directory. I don't run Active Directory. I don't have any reason to. The way I deploy a NAS is it's open access the same way as a USB flash drive. I want to be able to have a USB flash drive that everybody in the office or everybody in the house has access to. We don't have to unplug it and walk it around. And I need it to have a massive capacity. I don't set up usernames. I don't set up passwords, and nobody from outside, can access my NAS. It's not possible. I've turned that all off, any more than they can access my flash drive that's plugged into my computer, because I've turned all that outside access off. But you might say to me, Carey, I need that outside. In order for us to do what we need to do, we need to turn those features on. And that's fine. It's built to do that. I just don't use it that way. And what I see people do is they keep trying to recreate what they had. So for example, we're going to replace somebody's computer, and I'm sure you've encountered this before, where the customer says, I want everything back the way it was. You're like, well, do you still use this? I don't know. Okay. This is a lot of work to put everything back. Why are we putting back things you don't use? Well, I don't know if I need it or not. Okay, well, let's talk about what you know you need. Let's just focus on that. We go through the like a regular cleanup of a computer. Somebody's having an issue with their computer. It's all bogged down. I don't know about you, but one of the first things I do is I look at everything installed and I ask the customer, do you know what this is? If they say, no, I don't know what it is, but I know what it is, like it's standard thing you find, I leave it alone. If I ask the customer, do you know what this is? They say, yes, it's for my printer. Okay, I see you have Canon printer, HP printer, Xerox printer. Oh man, I got rid of the HP and the Xerox printer years ago. Great, let's take those out. I see you've got Microsoft Teams. Yeah, I don't know how they got there. Let's take it out. Microsoft OneDrive. I don't know what that is. Let's take it out. What's this? I don't know. I don't know either. So we'll just leave it for right now. And oftentimes that gets us, it doesn't get us perfect, but it absolutely makes an improvement in the system and sometimes solves the main issue for the call. Now, if we're still having issues, then we'll start taking out those unknown things, because there's one way to know. There's a joke about if you want to find where the end of a network cable goes, just unplug it from the switch and wait to hear the scream. That's where it goes. So if we uninstall it and now suddenly the customer can't do something, well, now we know what that is, right? On the other hand, customer doesn't say anything. No news is good news. You don't miss it when it's gone. So what I see people doing is they're always wanting to put everything back the way it was. And it's like, well, this is a good opportunity to do a little spring cleaning, because all that clutter and all that mess, it does add to stress. People may not realize it, but looking at that mess every day, day after day, it'll take a toll on your mental health. So this is also easier on the computer. It's easier to maintain it for me. And, it's a win all the way around if they want to add things or not just piling on without, if you want to bring something in, take something out. That's all I'm saying. Try and keep it even if you can. And with the Synology, when I'm replacing a server with a Synology, I'm not trying to put it back as a server. That's not what I'm trying to do. I have one piece of software that wants a server. One piece of software. That's a Drake Tech software. It does not want to run on a NAS. And they even warn you, if you put this on a NAS, your performance is going to go in the toilet. And That's true. At a certain size of business, smaller business may not notice it, but a bigger business with multiple employees all trying to access the database, especially during tax season, it's too heavy on the NAS. Too many of what we call data collisions are occurring. So they don't actually need a real server. They need a desktop computer that can have the Drake data files on it. And I'm not exactly sure what's different, but it absolutely runs so much faster. But for their Drake backups and for every single piece of software that they have data files, that all goes to the network attached storage. So if there's PDF files, if there's client related, they'll create a folder for the client. And then with the NAS being in a RAID 5 or a RAID 1, we're getting that data redundancy. That's not a backup. But if a drive failure occurs, it's really easy to replace it. And the customer or the employees don't even know anything happened. Only you'll know. Now, if you lose a second drive on a RAID 5 or on a RAID 1, if you lose the other drive and you haven't yet replaced it, you're done. I hope you have backups. Or if they were to click on a link and it encrypted everything, the NAS will get encrypted too, regardless if you've got a password on it. If they're logged into it and they're the ones who get the virus has permission to get on there. So that's why we still make backups. But what I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to put the server back the way it was. I'm trying to figure out how do they use it and what do they need. So when I am evaluating a potential new customer, and I imagine you must do something similar, I don't just say I'm going to be your new tech. Show me your business. Let me see what you got. Let me take a look at the assets. And if I see a server or two or three, first thing I'm writing down is we're going to try and replace these ASAP. One of the first things I'm going to do. If I see older computers that aren't Windows 11 compatible, and I'm making a note, this is the work I can see that you need now to put us in a place where marching forward, we're going to have a good, stable, rock solid IT infrastructure. If they're still using old, outdated technology, I make a note. There's something they might want to look into, but not critical. Based on that, I can determine if I'm the right tech for them. If they've got equipment I'm not familiar with, if they got a bunch of Ubiquiti hardware and security cameras, I'm not your guy. I'm not going to recommend they take that out and replace it with what I know because they've already got a big investment in it. But on the other hand, if they got old servers, they don't need them, and I can put a NAS in, and that reduces their overall expense in electricity cost, maintenance cost, and reduces risk because Windows Server is a higher target than a NAS. There's always risk, but we're lowering the risk. It costs less money to run. It takes less space. And it's less problematic, generally speaking. And then I figure that out and present the offer to the customer. Here's what we can do based on what you have. This would be my plan of action with these items being, high up on my list. If we find out there's a reason they need the server, then I will strip the server of every function that I can, that the NAS can replace. And then that server will just be there for one thing. That's it. And when the time comes that they don't need that one thing anymore, or that one thing changes and no longer requires a server, it'll go on to the NAS. One thing with businesses that I found is they're constantly getting, new versions of the software they use, whether it's Quicken, QuickBooks. Certainly tax software is updated every year. The tax software like Drake won't even install on Windows 10. It says, nope. Even though Windows 10 is still supported, they will not allow you to put that on Windows 10. So if we have Windows 10 computers and they're like an accounting company or something like that, we got to get, you have to, or you can change your business. You know what I mean? These are the tools. So what I'm not trying to do is mimic what the servers are doing. I have no interest. I want to know what the clients are doing and if a NAS can replace the way that they're using the server. So I look at it completely the other way around. And the reason I do that is I don't want to get brainwashed. I don't want to be influenced by the server configuration thinking that it's necessarily that it's necessary. Maybe somebody just, the previous person that set that up, maybe they set them all up the same regardless of I don't know what they were thinking. Or maybe when they set it up, the client was using software or using it in a way that they don't use it today. Things change. So I want to know what's going on today. And based on that, based on how they show me they use it, I can determine if a NAS will replace the server entirely, or if it'll replace 90% of the server. And then the server will just sit there and do 10%. And what that does is that if the server goes down, I only have one application, let's just say, that there's an issue with. The rest of the company can still operate.
I have a similar situation on that point right there going on with this client that I'm referring to. Is we have two pieces of software that have requirements, and ironically, one of them is kind of a high price, a legal office management software, and it's used by only one person in the entire office. It's designed to be a multi-user software, and it requires a Windows server to operate. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put a very low-end server, or even the server that they have, reduce its role in life to just provide this function so that we can free everything else to go to the NAS. Now, there's another piece of software that for convenience purposes, we have its base program, its data storage on one of the servers, but it doesn't require that. It can even be on a peer server, a peer workstation. We can have just a Windows 11 computer that's dedicated to that task. That won't work in the NAS, but I'm thinking that maybe their current server might get reduced in functionality to just service those two needs, and the data for both of those would be stored on the NAS. So the rest of their functions can all be moved over to NAS, and I think that's probably what we're going to be doing. But we still got to have some kind of at least minimal level of server. Now, we don't do Active Directory. We don't do any high security implementations there. We do have, everybody has their own passwords, and we will be implementing that into the NAS. So I would assume that I actually have to create user accounts and passwords on the NAS in order to keep that consistent. Now, before you try to argue against it, Carey, the reason for this is because their cybersecurity insurance forms have requirements about security, and they will not accept the strategy of the what was it? Not the guest accounts that you use on NAS. That's not even a starter for us.
So I don't personally care. I mean, I wouldn't argue against having usernames and passwords. My clients, and the way that I deploy the NASs, I don't have a client that would be. Again, we don't have any outside access coming in.
But
so,
that doesn't satisfy me at all.
Okay.
With backups, we use multi-layered protections. Security, in my opinion, has to be multi-layered protection too. So to say that you've got a block at the internet level, that does not excuse, in my mind, to be laxed on the rest of security.
I'm not trying to change. I'm not trying to change your mind.
Yeah,
So
but you're stating your position, and I have to speak mine so that I don't sound like I'm agreeing with it. So, yep, that's that. That's a piece that we're not going to agree on. But it's fair for me to state my position.
If we had the same clients, we'd probably do the same level of work. But if my clients don't require that, and I'm going to get support calls that go, I forgot my password. You see, my clients are small companies. And if we're trying to protect, if the business owner walks up to me and says, listen, I have some data over here that's payroll, and I don't want my other employees to see the payroll data, then we would turn a password on strictly to get into the payroll folder. We wouldn't need everybody to have a password. only the payroll person, when accessing the payroll data, would need the password to access that data. So I do put security in, but it's not universal for everybody. It depends what your role in the company is. Now, if the business owner says, look, I don't trust any of these people I hired, I'd say hire different people. Like, why would you hire people you don't trust? If they're the ones you're worried about, there's a real easy solution for that. Get rid of them. So many of the employees that work for the companies that I do service providing for have been with the company for as long as I have. There's not a big turnaround. Sometimes somebody's kid graduates college, or like, during the summer, why don't you come work here? You know what I mean? Like, that's the biggest change we see. Sometimes somebody retires. They've been with the company and now it's time for them to move on. But overall, we just keep seeing the same employees. Now, if you can't trust those people, right, then that's a different issue that's not solved with passwords. But on the other hand, a client called me the other day and they said, our credit card machine isn't working. What do we do? I've never installed a credit card machine in my life. And when it comes to their phones and their credit card machines, they already had all that. I don't know anything about it. I'm not qualified. And for all I know, maybe you guys didn't pay the bill, right? How many times has that been, hey, our email isn't working, and I dig trying to figure it out. And eventually, 3 days later, find out they didn't pay their damn bill. So I said to them, I said, look, I'll help you as best I can, but I really don't know anything about this. They said, well, our unit's really, really old. Could it be bad? Maybe the standard. Usually if it's going to be obsolete, the company you're paying for that service will send you emails, and the emails will increase with frequency that, hey, by this date, it's going to stop working if you don't update it. But if you're not getting those emails, maybe somebody else is. Like that's how the bill doesn't get paid. They're sending the invoices and nobody's seeing them. I said, on the other hand, maybe it is old and needs to be replaced. You know who's going to know that? The people you pay to process credit cards. So they said, okay, we understand, we'll call them. And then they email me and they go, okay, here's what they told me. I need a new credit card machine. And they offer the standard one and they offer a mobile one. And the mobile one, you can get a SIM card. I go, stop. They're like, which one should we get? I go, the mobile credit card processing is if you're doing on-site payments, like you'd say you're going to somebody's house and you want them to pay you before you leave. Or maybe a more familiar would be going to a farmer's market. These folks set up for the weekend. You want to buy some goods. They've got a little credit card machine. I go, if you get a mobile credit card machine, you got to worry about batteries. You don't need a SIM card. You've already got internet in the building. Save your money, yes, the mobile one will work, but it's more money and you don't need it. And I just thought, isn't that obvious? But I guess not. I think they were kind of being upsold on the mobile unit being more flexible. But this is a multi-story office. They're not, like they were thinking we could move it from one floor to the other floor. Or you could do that now. You just plug it into the network and plug it into the wall. So anyway, I had to just kind of straighten that out. But when I'm setting up a network attached storage for my clients, I am trying to keep it as simple as possible. And also we have to follow regulation. Like in the case of credit card machines, there's strict FINRA regulation and PCIe compliance. I don't know anything about it. You might, and you would have followed the regulations that are required. I don't deal with any business where those regulations are required. I'm trying to set up the easiest, most maintenance-free setup for the client that is also secure. And one of the ways I secure it is I turn off any sort of internet access to the NAS. If you want to access the NAS, you've got to be in the office. You cannot be on the Wi-Fi, it won't work. You've got to be in the office, wired. Now, if you're already in the office and wired and you're not supposed to be there, I don't think a password's going to keep you out. I mean, that's just, maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems like an added an unnecessary step for my client's needs, but it may absolutely be required for your client's needs.
I'm wondering if we can move to a different topic. We've been on this for a little while.
Oh,
Going to probably bore
well,
the
there's so much more to
audience.
discuss, because then you've got all the apps, and I'll give you an example. A good friend, Mitch Morrison, he doesn't have a business, but he has a NAS, and he enjoys using his NAS for personal use. And the way he sets it up is so that he can watch his movies, and listen to the music he has while he's traveling all over the world, connecting to his NAS using Plex on his phone. So he doesn't have to pay, Netflix or Spotify. He can also create his own cloud. So if any of your clients are using Dropbox or any other file sharing, you don't have to pay for that. You can provide your own cloud service. When you start doing that, when you start opening up the internet side of things, because you might need to, that's when I change my security perspective, just so we're on the same page. All right. I was looking here in the chat to see if we missed any questions. K. Cordius Technology said, that's the reason I'm setting up a NAS, replacing a server. The client I'm migrating doesn't use the server the way they used to. They're mostly cloud-based now, and the NAS will be used to have centralized shared data. Yeah, and again, I'm all for that. And your plan to use the NAS as like a backup of a server or of online data, spot on. I mean, that's no debate for me on that one. We don't debate about everything.
Yeah, David Graham with a $5 super chat on your channel back a ways.
Well, I missed it. Find that. Man, there's got to be an easier way for me to.
David Graham was the one that was having the problem with the accessing shares on the root of the drives on other computers on his network. I think both you and I had some conversations with him.
Am I missing that? $5 from David Graham. When I used to build computers for cancer imaging, we put mirrored drives in them. Yeah.
All right.
The benefit about having it in a NAS, well, it should be a benefit, but not all NASs follow these rules, is the ability to pull a drive and replace it without any tools, without having to shut the computer. So if you built a computer with a mirrored array, you'd have to take the side panel off, get a screwdriver. You'd have to take off both side panels usually to get the screws out, reach in and pull the cables, pull the drive out. You do this with the system off. With a NAS, you just lift a lever, slide a tray out, pop a new drive in, slide the tray in, and the NAS continues to run the entire time you're doing it. So if it's during business hours, the employees might notice the NAS being a little slower at the worst. And then you just log into the NAS and let it rebuild the array.
And that procedure is identical with a rack mount server that has hot swappable drives. And that's what we have at this site.
Yep, exactly. There was a question about, I don't know where it is now, somebody asking if you know a way to securely erase a solid state drive.
Yeah, that's Jeff Ryman, fairly recent in chat, asking that. I'm sure other people around in chat have a go-to for that. I rarely would ever need to do that. So I don't have that off the top of my head. What I would do is I would just go do a Google search and look for something that I recognize if I were needing that. I can't imagine why anybody would be needing me to do that, because about the only reason to do that is if the drive's going to come out of a current computer and then be given to somebody else, or what, donated to a facility or something like that. And we're just not doing that kind of thing with that dollar amount. If a client says they want to, they're a computer that they're replacing, they want me to securely erase the drive so they can give that computer to somebody else, my advice to them is no, let's just put a new drive in it and let them have the computer, and the old one's going to get destroyed. You shouldn't be paying me the time to securely erase it and then reinstall an operating system on it for something you're going to give away. It just doesn't make financial sense among my relationship with my clients. So I just don't see that I would ever come across an occasion to need that.
Yeah, again, I do feel like there's still a bit of the old mentality in this logic from people that want to do things the way we used to do them. But the reasons have all changed. For one thing, to the best of my knowledge, there is no way to actually securely erase a solid state drive because of the buffer areas and the, what do they call them? I can't think of what it's called. There's like a little extra that's off at the edges, the replaced bad sectors or bad cells in this case.
Okay.
And you can't access them. So if you shred the unit, if you put it through a shredding machine, that will destroy it. But if you hit it with a hammer and you leave any chips intact, whatever on that chip is still recoverable. Now, some solid state drive manufacturers do have a utility built into them that says securely erase. So a lot of Samsung drives, I think every Samsung drive with the Samsung Magician software, I do believe the secure erase is there and it's manufacturer specific. I'm with you. When drives were $300 for 40 megabytes, you did what you could to keep using them. But with the scale of how many computers are out in the world versus how many were out in the world back then, everything has come down in price to the point now where if something is that critical to you that you're worried about data being recovered, the only financially sound 100% guaranteed way to solve that problem quickly and cheaply is to physically and completely destroy the drive. And replacing the drives, they're what, $40?
Yeah.
So it's not what it used to be, and those reasons. Now, if I have a client and they say, you know, we're part of a medical thing or financial thing, and government regulations require us to verify these drives have been securely erased. In every case I've ever done that, they've always been mechanical drives, and there are secure drive erasers, and even software like Red Key or Derek's Boot Nuke that will work on mechanical drives. And they mostly work on SSDs, but not 100%, probably not to like a Department of Defense level of wipe. The only way I know to do that is to destroy an SSD, period. And it's also a lot faster.
Anybody needing a certificate of destruction, I'll take it to a service that does that. And I haven't had that ever, but I have had, I did identify a location in my area that can do that and provide a certificate. I would not try to, you know, play that role because that is not my daily in and out business.
I think for most people, just doing a format, erase the partition, or do a disk part clean all /A.
Yeah.
When I talk to,
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I should say actually what this site does is they destroy it. They don't, it's not a erase. They
That makes
destroy
sense.
it and give a certificate of destruction. Now,
Perfect.
that doesn't mean that that goes into a landfill. That goes into recycling. They take the elements that are in the drive and make use of them. So it's not, you know, a completely down the tubes kind of thing. And I saw a comment back there. Let's see. I think, yeah, Domain 2000 saying, still destructing fully working equipment SSD feels wrong. Well, now I can repurpose things. If a client has a drive that we're replacing for some reason, but it's still a fully functional drive, I have on occasion put that into another computer of theirs as a second drive and use that as an internal backup. Now, before you start getting, not you, Carey, but before people jump all over me about that's not a real backup, you got to have it off site and separate and all that kind of crap. Well, not if it's not a data. If it's just a convenience image backup of the operating system so that you don't have to reinstall from scratch, I'm completely fine with. In fact, I like having an internal drive. I don't even want it connected by USB because I've had too many times when it gets disconnected and we no longer have that backup. And when we get to a point where we need it, it's not there. So we have to reinstall from scratch. The data backups that's on some central location, yeah, we've got the 3-2-1, strategy covered for those.
I was just grabbing. I'm listening.
He stepped away.
I stepped away very quietly. And I'm listening to you the whole time.
All right.
So I can grab these. Let me go full.
Oh, yeah.
This is as many as I can hold. I have a bunch of these.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with any of these. These have all been securely erased. You see these here? Maybe I can bring these up to the camera a little closer.
Oh, IDE. Yeah, IDE. I got them too. I have them too.
Do you see a date of manufacture on there? Oh, I got to hold it upside.
Oh, I was reading upside down. I can do that.
Oh, wait a minute. Something's being reversed. Right over
Don't
here.
look at your video. Let's see. I'm trying to recognize a date on there. Made to Hungary. Can I say this? My eyes are probably skimming right over it.
You know what? I got to put my glasses on for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
My point is that if anything's important enough for you to save it, why would you save it on something so old and worn out? And where are you going to find a computer with IDE on it anymore? There's nothing wrong with these. They're profoundly small in capacity. They're profoundly slow. By a USB $6 flash drive has more capacity and is faster than this and is more usable in more devices since it doesn't have to be wired in. You just plug it in and you're going to go multiple times faster than this and multiple times the capacity for about 5% of what this cost when it was new. Like this is 95% more expensive when it was new than a modern day flash drive, which is potentially a much larger capacity, much faster data transfer rate, and it doesn't have to be installed in the computer. So why would you still do that to yourself? Now, if I get my glasses, let me get my glasses out.
Oh, there it is. There it is. It's real big. That's why I didn't see it. Lawrence Pierre found it. Once he said what it is, then I saw it. I was looking at the fine print.
November 2000. This drive is 25 years old. Okay. These drives, this right here, this drive is from, these are 320 gigs. 320 gigs. You can get a 500 gig flash drive these days for like under 20 bucks. So I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why would you save this? This, I'm looking for a date. Oh, it's got a sticker over the date. Why did they put stickers? I've got stacks and stacks, and these all work as good as the day they were new. They're just as, the capacities haven't changed. The speed hasn't changed. Their reliability, I'm sure they've got less life left in them, don't we all, than they had years ago, but they still work. I don't know.
Now, you just said, why would somebody hold on to them, yet you're holding on to them?
Oh, yes. Do you know why?
I've got a suspicion.
What reason would I have to hold on to these?
You haven't got around to disposing of them?
How would I dispose of them?
Take them to a location that destroys them if they need to be destroyed. Otherwise, put them to electronics recycling.
So again, how do I do that?
Take it to an electronics recycler.
Where is one?
Oh, I've got a couple of them here in town. I know them. They've been out to my house to pick up equipment.
Well, if I could have somebody come out to my house and pick these up, I would. But what I have to do is I have to load all these up, put them into the car, stop my day, stop all my work to go do something I'm not getting paid to do.
Right. And that's why they sit around for a long time.
So I wait until I have enough of them to make it worth the drive. Yeah.
Right.
Now, since then, I don't know if you saw, I did an interview with a very interesting company here called Emerald
Yes.
Computers.
Yes. I did see
Guess
that.
where these are going to go?
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'm going over there anyway. I'll take them with me. What do you think of Emerald Computers?
Oh, I thought it was fascinating. I wish I could find something like that locally. I mean, I do have electronic e-waste recyclers here, but they're not repurposing anything. Everything goes to e-waste. Um, Nothing is considered for refurbishing and getting more life out of it.
Well, yeah, and that's the goal, right? You sift through it to figure out. That's what they're doing. What has more life and what doesn't. You know, he's moving through 1,000 computers a month, and the scale
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, the margin on anything that he turns over has got to be so small. He's got to do a huge volume and have multiple streams of income for things in order to make that work. And we can't know how well that's working for him. If you look at you look at his site, he is paying a lease there. He has employees there. He's got a functioning business and he's made it work. I suspect that it is not easy to make that business work.
And they will go out and collect items if you have, you know, a certain number of pounds.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the company that came out to pick up for me. I think they were picking up like, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 computers, full computers at the time. So yeah, they'll come out when I have a substantial load for them. Otherwise, I take stuff to them.
David Graham said, I have 2 computers I just built with new parts, but the parts were made 5 years ago. Well, there's that too. I mean, you can go on Amazon right now and buy product that's been sitting on a shelf, brand new, never been used for years. You know, it's probably not going to have the capacity or the speed. It may not have any warranty. It might not. And for the price, you might see that as a bargain. If you're mixing old parts and new parts, and I think I'm going to be surprised if you don't agree with me, Doug, but if you're trying to upgrade a system and you're carrying over some old parts, maybe an old power supply or an old drive, and you're mixing it in with your new parts, your new motherboard, your new CPU, when you have a problem, I'll bet you 90% of the time, the problem will be one of your old parts failing. Nothing that you put in new is likely going to fail for a long time. Have you noticed that?
I can't say I have a lot of experience with that. I don't build computers. I'm not going to take parts out of a computer that somebody has replaced with another one and try to make use of that elsewhere.
You won't even entertain that.
No, it's not worth my time.
Bingo. And so I think when we talk about what's worth our time, what we're talking about is running a business versus sitting at home. So if for example, David is a home user and he's not answering to anybody but himself, he's not building these computers for customers that are paying him, that he has to then take support calls and warranty calls. He's free to do whatever he wants. You know, he can build a case out of matchsticks if he wants to. I mean, nobody says you can't. It doesn't sound like a safe thing to do, but you absolutely can. And I think one thing to take from this when you're watching my channel or Doug's channel is rather than the sea of enthusiast channels that exist here on YouTube, we're coming at it from a professional side of things. And I wish there were more professionals, the level out enthusiast videos versus professional. I wish it was more equal. But we are way down here, the professionals, as far as YouTube content goes. And the majority of the tech YouTube content is all coming from people who don't work in the industry, many of which never have, or they used to many years ago where nothing's the same anymore. And when I watch it, I think it's like what a doctor must feel like, or what a lawyer must feel like when they watch these fictionalized traumatic television shows about law. You know, oh, you could never say that to a judge. Come on. Or the, house. Oh, that would never happen. That's unrealistic. The hospital would never let him do that. I mean, that's, I think, what people, if I had to explain it.
It's almost time to pick up your child.
Uh-oh.
That's old. Ignore it.
So all I'm saying is, for the viewers who are expecting enthusiast level content, you're going to hear some very different answers from Doug and myself and others in the industry that follow accountability and getting paid and being held responsible and wanting to stay in business, right? If you set your customers up for failure and then you fail to make it right, you're likely not going to have customers very long. But if you do that to yourself, you only affect yourself. There's no money to be lost other than your own. You might do it for learning. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's different. That's all.
Now, on that point, this is probably going to get some people's ire raised. There is, when you're in business, in any form of business, there is some amount of waste. And as a business owner, you can be conflicted about seeing that waste. And what I'm getting at is, when we replace a computer that has, I look at this computer and I say, somebody could really make use of that. Can't I find somebody who would take that and make use of that? And I have tried. I've been down that road. Every single time, it takes more time on my part that could have been billable time to generate monies. Therefore, since it's taking that time, it's not free time. There's no such thing as free time. If I'm spending time doing something that is not generating revenue that I can't bill for, that's costing me money out of my pocket. So to take the time to try to get this piece of equipment that could serve usable life somewhere is going to cost me too much money out of my pocket to be worthwhile. So it goes to e-waste. I have a couple computers in the next room that are maybe 8th or 9th gen computers, have Windows 10 on them. And in conversation with a client of what we could do, we could upgrade those computers or we could replace them. And the choice was made to replace them with the mini computers, because with their better processors, with the higher instructions set per second, IPS, I think it is, they perform better than what these computers that are 8th or 9th gen would do as Windows 11 computers. So I've got Windows 11 capable computers that I'm pretty sure are going to wind up going to recycling. And that is a waste that happens in any business. Restaurants, oh my gosh, find out how much good food that they throw away. You'll find restaurants now and then that find some way to get their food that they can't sell or is close to being too old to sell to their retail customers. They'll find some way to take care of it, but most of it gets wasted. Waste in a business is a thing. It happens. Get over it.
Andy's saying you don't have any free time. I don't think Andy's ever been self-employed. Do you have a lot of free time, Doug?
No, I have zero free time. Here's okay. I'm saying here's the thing too.
Go ahead.
Some people think that my leisure time is free time. No, the time that I spend where I'm not billing money, I consider that time to be worth at least double my normal hourly rate. That time is more valuable to me, not less valuable. So my leisure time, I need to be pursuing my choice of leisure products, leisure projects or leisure activity, not doing something that you want me to do for free. That doesn't count as my leisure time.
I agree with you. When you do something, Doug and I, we don't clock in and clock out. Well, that's my time. We have to kind of finish whatever we started or get to a point where we're like, I can pick this up tomorrow. But we have to eat. We might want to unwind with a little television. At the end of the month, I've got to make a house payment. I got to make an electricity payment. I got to pay water bill. I got to pay internet bill. I got to pay for car insurance. I've got to pay for my, I've got a pool. It needs pool maintenance every month, landscaping. I need to pay for any sort of clothes I need to wear, barbers, dentists, doctor visits. And somehow between when I'm working and then I have to go to get a service, haircut, doctor visit, dentist visit, that's during business hours that are normally billable. I'm not only paying for that, not to mention health insurance payments. I can't work. So I have to schedule that as though it were a client, except I'm paying for it instead of getting paid. Now, if you have somebody else paying your bills, or you have a trust fund or a great 401k and you're retired, that's a different story altogether. There's a gentleman, when I went to Burning Man out there in Nevada, which is, it's coming up, it's around Labor Day. When I went to Burning Man, they mentioned that, one of the best ways to get around Burning Man, cars are not allowed, is to get a bicycle. I don't have a bicycle. Well, no worries. When you drive out there, there's this guy that owns a big piece of land out there, pretty close. And he accepts people to bring in broken bicycles or bicycles in any condition. And he spends all year fixing them up and then giving them out to people. And then he asks you, bring it back if you're not going to use it, or keep it if you want it. And then when you're at Burning Man and you're using a bicycle, even one you brought, because it's 5 square miles, it's a lot to walk. Nobody, in my experience, they're free for all. So if you park your bicycle and walk away from it, it may not be there when you come back. So what do? You take somebody else's bicycle. So you are likely not going to have, there's no locks. Nobody's locking them up. Even if you had a really nice carbon fiber mongoose, I don't know, whatever, Schwinn, it has no value at Burning Man. Nobody respects that. They just assume there's no ownership here. Everything belongs to everyone. Now, if I lived in that society, then to spend time to refurbish computers to give to people, that would be great, because then there'd be nothing on me where I had to pay somebody without any money. So how do I keep the electricity on? How do I get the mortgage payment made? How do I get the car insurance paid? How do I pay for the maintenance on the car that's going to need tires? That's $1,000, right? Furniture, clothes, food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I have 30 days. It's not like the bill is whenever you can get to it. I have 30 days to reach that goal, and then the clock starts again. The goal gets reset. I have another 30 days. And this keeps going month after month with no break. So let's talk about free time.
I'd like to follow up on where'd it go? Chris Garrett's comment at 2:05. Someone would buy those 9th and 10th gen. Yeah, sure they would. I don't disagree with you at all. Somebody would buy them. However, the amount of time that it takes on my side to make that transaction happen is not worth it. It's going to pay me less than what I can do with my billable clients in every single case. And I've tried it. I've exported. If I had somebody who is really good enough and regular enough, like Carey, I think you do have somebody that is regular enough and you can rely on, and you're not establishing a new relationship with them. But if I were to take these computers and try to market them on something, and then on someplace, and then have interactions, communications with whoever wants it, and then get it shipped out to them, the amount of money that I could get off those is just, it's no. And it would cost me money out of my pocket. Absolutely not.
Then the ongoing support calls after they buy it.
Oh, yeah. Depending upon who it is.
You sold me a piece of junk. You're a terrible person. You're like, look, I'm not going to support it. It was sold as is. Oh, yeah, of course, because you knew when you sold it to me, it was broken. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? It worked before I gave it to you. If you have nothing going on, if you got all day with nothing to do, it's a wonderful way to contribute back to your community by rebuilding and refurbishing computers. I'm all for it. But I won't be able to pay my electric bill at the end of the month if I do that. I have a few systems here that were all, I made videos, let's say 5 years ago, with a 10900K CPU. Top of the line Trident Z RGB RAM, the most expensive DDR RAM that's not ECC RAM that you could buy. one of the most expensive, highest performing NVMe drives, which was Gen 3 at the time, but really nice case, really nice power supply. Took all the time to put everything together, load Windows, buy a Windows license, run the Windows updates, get all the drivers installed. And 5 years later, it's sitting on a shelf. And if I Google how much are those parts, if you were to buy them today used, it's around $700 to $900. So I put it on Facebook for $500. I got nothing. One person sends me a message. Would you just sell me the CPU?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with the rest of the computer? Somebody said, I'll give you $300 for it. Well, it's not worth my time. It might as well just sit on a shelf. Maybe a friend of mine, I will sooner give that to a friend or throw it in a trash can before I let somebody flip that for $600, buying it for me for $300 and screwing me out of $300. If you're my friend, if we're going to make a deal where I'm going to pay you a commission or we're going to split the profit, different story. But just from some stranger looking to take advantage, like I'm desperate, like I need to get a fix, I can't afford my drugs, I'll take it to a pawn shop before I do that. So this idea that yes, 9th and 10th gen are still reusable, nobody's arguing that. The problem is how much time and effort goes into finding a buyer. So for me to list that on even Facebook Marketplace, I still have to take pictures. I have to write a description. I have to research what motherboard, what RAM, how much of it, what speed of the RAM, people want every little detail. There's an old expression, beggars can't be choosers. What's the wattage of the power supply? Is it modular or non-modular? Who makes it? It's cheap. It's really cheap. If you want to be that picky, go buy new. So I think what I'm seeing a lot of right now, especially on eBay, shopping in Goodwill, I'm seeing people using their phones, looking at items at Goodwill and looking up how much they're selling for, like on eBay. And instead of those items going to people the way it's intended, like the whole idea behind Goodwill is these items get a second life. What's happening in 2025 is a good portion of the people shopping in Goodwill are simply looking for items they can resell. And I can tell because they're taking pictures. They don't even know what they're looking at. They're looking to see how much Goodwill's selling it for, how much it can get for it online, and they start collecting it. Where in the meantime, somebody who has very little money, who barely can afford it, they're taking it from them, and they're going to sell it for more money somewhere else. You have no idea how much that gets under my skin. They're not doing anything illegal, but it's very much against the whole concept of Goodwill. And on top of that, in my opinion, they're working way harder. We have a store down the street that's an Amazon returns liquidation store. You ever been in one of those?
No.
Do you have an idea of what it might be and the kinds of things it might have?
Yeah, I think so.
A little of everything, blenders
Sure.
to scarves and socks to
That's
Ziploc
what I would
bags.
expect. Yeah.
And you never know. It's all just kind of piled and you have to dig through it like you're homeless digging through a garbage can looking for something to eat. Hey, that's a good slice of pizza right there. I find it so against just human dignity that you're fighting with other people. Like, hey, we just brought a new pallet out. And they got it all covered up. Everybody's lined up. They have no idea what's in that pallet, but our stuff there I can flip. All right. They pull the thing and go. And there's videos of this on YouTube. You can watch it. And they start reaching in and grabbing. And some people are just grabbing anything they can grab. I don't even care. It is greed to its ugliest level from people who are simply looking to buy it, to resell it at a profit. And there's nothing illegal about it, but I find it very undignified. And I don't want to be. So Mara's, she's like, you want to go check it out? I'm like, no, I don't want to. I mean, just based on what I've seen online, maybe this place is different, but you want to buy somebody else's return stuff? Really? Like, I don't know if it's a used car or something really expensive, but when it's a $20 item and you're picking it up for $8, so then you're hoping that you can take pictures of it, list it online, write a description, put it in a box, ship it off, and you're going to make $7. I can't.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that. I'll take a little bit different approach on that, because what I see in that is that those people are making a business out of the scraps, the refuse. It's a much lower dollar amount business. They perhaps aren't at a point or station in their life where they can have a higher dollar, what you might say, legitimate business. And this is a place that they can take their initiative and gumption and improve their life over what it would otherwise be. The marketplace for that has a low supply and a high demand. And I say that based upon the number of people scrambling to get something out of there. It's a first come, first serve. The marketplace could structure itself differently, so it's not quite that frenzied mess if they choose to. So I certainly wouldn't want to be there. I'm a little more sensitive and compassionate to the purchasers who are purchasing products from these people, because I don't consider them to be of the highest scruples. So I think they will sell something for an outrageously high price for what the product is, and perhaps misrepresent the product. So I'm a little more ill at ease on that side. I will go ahead and follow up on Chris Garrett's comment about saying only if he was in Fresno and that he understands what I was saying. If I could find, if I had found, I'm not going to go out and try to find them, because again, that's not worth my time. But if I were to become aware of a person who will take this equipment off of my hands and do something productive with it, I will give it to them. They don't have to pay me for it. I will give it to them because it's going to recycling anyway. When the computers come into me, the first thing I do is remove the drives. So they're not going to get the drives. So the rest of the computer, whatever it is, they can have it. The catch is, when they come to pick it up, they have to take whatever is there. No looking through it, no asking questions, no evaluating whether they want this or that. They just have to take all of it, get it out of here. That saves me from loading it up in my car and taking it to the e-waste recycling center. That is worth it to me to just give it to them. They don't have to pay me nothing. We don't talk about what their value is. Take it, get it out of here. It has to be convenient for me all the way around. They show up when I'm available for it, when I say that they can come. They're reliable, that they do actually show up. They never call me with questions about any of the equipment. If I could find something like that, they could make probably a viable business out of this. It's not there.
Yeah, and I feel like I had a friend. I have a friend. I shouldn't say had. And I said, here's a bunch of old equipment if you want. He's not working. He's got disability, so he's not able to work in a traditional sense. But some days are better than others. And I said, if you want something to do, you can have all these old parts. And to my surprise, he called me about 6 months later and he said, do you have any more parts? It's only been 6 months. Yeah, I already built all those. So you made some money? No, I gave them away. Like, I don't know if he thought he was going to offend me. You should have sold them. You gave them away to who? Well, just to make retro computers for people. Okay. I was a little disappointed. Like, one, I'm glad you gave them a new life. I'm glad that you spent all the time and effort to put everything together, make it work, and turn them into retro gaming computers. I'm not happy to hear that you didn't at least try and get $40 for them. You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't have any more parts. But the condition was, initially, you come over to me, you take the parts, right? And you don't have to take what you don't want, but I'm not bringing it over to you. He's clear on the other side of town. We loaded his car. I mean, it was completely big SUV loaded to the hilt. If you're able to get through all that in 6 months, feel like there's an opportunity for you to earn some money here. So I feel like on the one hand, I'm grateful that he took it and got it out of the place and I didn't have to recycle it. I'm grateful that he found entertainment in putting it all together. But I'm a little shocked because I thought, number one, he wasn't that capable, like, due to limitations. Apparently his limitations aren't as limited as I thought they were, or maybe he was just having a good few months. I don't know. But then to turn around, do all that work and just give it away. Now I understand if you're giving it away to family and friends, but if you're giving it away to friends of friends or friends of your kids, $40 isn't much to ask. And if you're not working and you got no income, you're going to stay exactly in the same financial position you are. And when you're saying, look, somebody might be in a financial position where anything they can do to lift themselves out by going to buy these things at liquidation centers, the amount of time it takes to go sift through the stuff, all that's preventing them from actually getting a real job. In other words, they're self-creating, self-profitizing, keeping themselves exactly where they are. That's not lifting them up, in my opinion.
Well, it depends upon how much they're making out of it. If they're making more money than they could at a regular job, considering their regular job, they would have probably more hours than what they're doing with the equipment. But if they are making more equipment for whatever time they're spending in with the equipment than what they would do in an actual job, then I can see that justifiable. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people that are scrabbling along to get stuff out of that palette of returns, some of them are doing this as a hobby and they're not actually trying to make money of it. So there may be some of those in there as well.
Yeah, they might just have fun, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
But then, how are they, not that it's any of my business, but I just love to know, how are they paying their bills at the end of the month if this is how much free time you have? And if you've seen videos of YouTube where they buy a pallet of stuff from Amazon and they have to go through the pallet, they tell you, here's how much I spent, and let's go through each item and look up how much it's worth. And we can calculate potentially if we've made money or lost money just going through the pallet. Then listing each item on the pallet, doing the research, taking the pictures, filing the listing. And if you're selling on eBay, you're going to pay eBay fees, PayPal fees. If you're posting it on Craigslist, that's not free either. How many hours do you think it would take? And I guess it depends what the item is. In all fairness, maybe the pallet's filled with large, expensive items like Dyson vacuum cleaners. Or maybe the pallet's filled with a bunch of little stuff, toothbrush heads and hair dryers. One pallet, just to go through it and just say, okay, here's what we have. How many hours, just that one portion, do you think one person would take? I would imagine it's got to be at least 3 days. And then if you've got to take a picture and write up a listing, and then when it sells, you have to package it and ship it. How can you get through one pallet in 30 days? And how can you make enough money? See, I don't know. I
don't know either. There's a lot of business models that I don't understand how they can possibly work.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Because, yeah, I could see if they were like a pallet of laptops. Okay. But I wouldn't have the money to pay for a pallet of laptops. How do you pay for that? Jason, the guy over at Emerald Computers, he made $1 million selling laptops. And he's got this video. He says, I made $1 million flipping laptop. I'm like, no, you didn't. You have a team of people and somebody or you have some money.
And there was a lot of expenses out of that million. That million sounds like it was the gross revenue.
No, he's saying that was his. Yeah, I don't know.
Was that the profit of the sale of the merchant? He's saying
He's
it's
saying
the
he
profit.
made $1
And
million.
yeah, well, that's what the phrase "made $1 million" would mean to me.
Well,
But is that not everybody uses the same terminology? I've come across that many times with people's claims about how much they make, and when I dig into the details when it's available, I find that was their revenue. It's a different number.
my main concern was it wasn't just you. You had to have a team of people. You couldn't have done this in a
Right.
year. And he's like, oh no, I have employees and I have,
Yeah.
forklifts, and we listed them on Amazon, and we refurbished every single one. We went through every single one. A lot of them, they were brand new laptops that were just sitting for like in a warehouse that wasn't temperature controlled. This person got in over their head. They didn't know what to do. They're paying storage fees for them. And he kind of came in, if you think about it, kind of bailed this person out, even though it was a loss. It's still better than, getting nothing. But by the time they got them out of the warehouse that wasn't temperature controlled, and they've been brand new in a box for 2 or 3 years, many of the batteries were just gone, just totally wasted. So you've got the expense of, the technical time, the parts, the testing, put it on Amazon. About 10% of what he sold on Amazon was returned. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just, he says, that's just working with Amazon. And I think he said out of the 1,400, between what was returned at Amazon and those that just were just not reasonable to repair, he had sold 1,000. And, we're talking about a guy who's thinking in really large scale numbers. Like he's moving 1,000 computers every single month, minimum 12,000 computers, whether laptops, desktops. And he's got another 1,000 coming in every month. So if he doesn't get around to it, like they just have to quickly determine, okay, these need to just go now. And he may have to pay somebody to take them, say, this is all scrap. He also mentioned, he said, people can come in and they can drop their electronics off. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's electronic, he'll take it. So I was noticing he had like stereos and turntables. It was mostly computers, network switches, servers, network racks, all this stuff. If you can imagine it, if it plugs in, it's in his warehouse. He said, I had this lady go to drop off a TV, CRT, glass tube TV. And they charge a disposal fee in Arizona that he has to pay. Anybody, you and I would have to pay it. You cannot recycle those for free. The state has a mandatory fee. It wasn't always this way, but I guess this lady came in and she brought in this TV, and he said, that's $15. She's like, no, I'm giving it to you. He goes, yeah. And for me to take that, I have to pay the waste disposal fee. I'm not making any money on it. But I've given you TVs before. You can't do this for me. So in her mind, she's doing him the favor by giving him her old stuff when it's against the law to simply throw it in a recycle bin, this electronic stuff.
Right.
And if she were to take it anywhere, this glass tube TV in Phoenix, everybody, you got to pay the $15 environmental fee, I think is what.
Yeah, it's an environmental fee. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was pissed at him.
Yeah.
Because of all I've done for you, you're going to charge me to take my TV. I'm not charging you. The state. Anyway, I could see in his eyes. I'm like, I know that look. What can you do? But now if the TV works and he can resell it, that's a different story.
Right.
Because he said there's an interest in, or like a renewed interest in retro glass tube TVs. People are looking for them.
Yeah, that was interesting when he said that.
Let's see. Scrolling through the chat, see if we're missing any questions. If you guys have questions for us, we still have some time here. some folks are talking about membership on YouTube videos. If you're trying to make income, whatever your line of work is, you need to get paid, right? Otherwise, why do the, if you're getting paid to do work, that's probably why you do the work. Or if you don't have a need for money because you have a trust fund or you're retired and you've got a retirement account, whatever your situation is, maybe you still live at home with your parents and you don't have to pay the bills and you're looking for something to do. The question is, why do we work? When I started YouTube, there was no monetization and very few people even knew what YouTube was back in 2008. But then it sort of became really popular. Advertisers jumped on board. It got oversaturated where everybody jumped onto a ship and the weight of everybody caused the ship to sink. They destroyed the ship. As a result, and this is happening in television, in radio, anywhere there's media, advertising is no longer a viable means to pay for the cost of a show. So if I'm spending 4 hours a day making a new show, and from the advertising I earn $10, I can't pay the mortgage. I can't pay the electric bill. So that means I either need to make less videos and focus more on my real life clients because I get paid a lot more money, or I turn on some way of viewer support membership to enable the financing that is no longer being filled by advertising anymore. On practically every medium, every video, with few exceptions, if you've got maybe a few million subscribers, you can make enough to earn a living. Or YouTube just becomes like a little hobby. I just like to do it on a weekend for fun. I'm not working with companies, not reviewing anything. I'm just, you know what I mean? And that's fine. But at the end of the month, I still have to, no one's paying my bills for me. So if people find value in the content, but then they say they don't want to pay for it, I would argue you don't find any value in it. So if the people are wondering why memberships are turned on, it's so I can continue. Because otherwise, without our members, the video you're watching today just wouldn't be here. The service we're using called StreamYard for Doug and I to do this live is $500 a year. Who's paying for that? So while we appreciate that we have viewers, without our members, this video wouldn't exist, free viewers or not. And unfortunately, unless somebody's got another idea on how this can all get paid for, how I can make videos this often and still make those bills every 30 days, I'm open to hear it, but this is the best we've got for right now. I don't have a choice other than to shut it down and just focus on, what I was doing before YouTube, which I still do, but I don't do as much of it anymore. And that's why we're in the situation we're in. And every YouTube channel, with the exception of the big giants, we're all in the same boat here. So you might be seeing it early here, but in a year, almost every channel will be doing this, so they'll be gone. Unless something unexpected changes. We're just seeing the beginning of it. And, we can't thank our members enough. It's with our members, we continue to do this. And the alternative is that we accept some corporate sponsorship where I have to read to you what they tell me to say, which are not my own words, and talk to you about things they want me to tell you about that I don't necessarily want to talk about. And in return, they'll write me a check. That's not what I want to do. Do you want to do that, Doug? You want to have a corporate overlord that you're beholden to that dictates what you're allowed to say, or you must read a script and you must do it the way they want you to, or they're not going to pay you? Or do you prefer the freedom of making the videos the way you want to make them?
Well, funny you should ask that.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, I recently had an inquiry by email that I actually replied to them saying, okay, I'm interested. That hasn't gone any further yet. But the way that I'm interested in it is they were offering to pay a pretty significant a price. But what I would be interested in doing with them is a fully sponsored video where I only talk about their product. I start out the video right off. The title of it would be sponsored content, and I would not be claiming to have use their product. I would just be showing it. And it sounded like that was completely acceptable to them. It's like they just wanted somebody who create a video. And the reason why, two reasons why I'm interested in it, it was a pretty significant amount of money that they were dangling. Now, I don't know how much background work that's going to take, and I'm very skeptical that it would ever work out. But the what was I going? Oh yeah, they said it would be my own. I could do my own words. They would have approval rights over it. They claimed to be reasonably easy about it. And I checked some of the other videos that have been made about their product, and I thought, well, man, looks like they're holding true to that. So there's a possibility that I would be interested in doing that. I would not include in my normal shows a blurb for them because that's imposing on my live audience. I wouldn't do that. And the other thing that they were wanting is, I think a dedicated amount of time at some point during my regular videos. So a mention or a dedicated amount of time, or fully dedicated videos. Fully dedicated videos, they're asking for like 5 to 8 minutes long. That is totally palatable to me, with the caveat that I'm right up front. This is a sponsored video to help support the channel, and I'm not claiming to have even used their product. I'm just showing you, here's what it is. If that's the thing, then I might be willing to do that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I might be willing to do it too, because you're putting conditions on it, right? A lot of the times the offers I get are, no, you don't set the conditions. We're paying you. We set the conditions. But when you can find somebody that'll work with you and compromise, and we can make it work, and in my opinion, or in my ethics, it's got to be a product I would recommend to customers. If it's not a product I would recommend to customers, it's off the table.
I'm not.
But that's just me.
Yeah. I'm not on that. And this is actually not a computer product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that they have a product, a service as much as a product. Let's see what they call this, service or a product. Yeah, either it could be called either way. But no, not only am I saying that, I'm not saying I would recommend it, not saying that I would use it, and indeed I don't use it. Here's what it is. If you want to run with that, then run with that. And I'm not imposing it on my live audience. Oh, I remember the second part. The first part was for the revenue that it would generate for me. But the other reason why I'm interested in it is because I think some people would see that video that won't normally click on any of my videos. And I think the product that I'm offering, the service that I'm offering in my videos, is applicable to anyone who uses a computer, because I'm very much looking for people who have issues with their computers to ask questions. They don't need to even, not only do they not need to be subscribers to my channel, they don't need to be viewers of my channel. They can send a question and I will respond to it in video and reply to their email with a timestamp to that point where I responded to that. So I think for these sponsored videos, I actually would be a co-sponsor of them and be able to reach some people that I would otherwise not reach, that could wind up being what I consider clients of the channel, where they are the people who are coming asking questions. How do I fix such and such? And they may never watch any of my videos other than the issue that I'm responding to for them specifically. So there's the two reasons why I was kind of interested in that. Now, I have ignored many other offers. This offer I looked at closer because of the specifics, that they were actually giving dollar amounts that they were offering for specific length of content, specific type of content, and that I could use my own words. They have fairly liberal approval requirements, and I was able to verify that by looking at other content similar. So I would not say it's an open door for just anybody out there. Now, I'm also concerned, is this actually a scam? By the time I get going with him, is there some kind of a scam element to it? So I have high skepticism about it. But just because you mentioned the sponsored content, I'll let you know that I'm
That's interesting. And, you know,
thinking
I
about
see your logic in there. I don't think there's a flaw in that I could debate with, you know, where it's got this added benefit. And, you know, if you can make that work, I think it's great, but that's like a needle in a haystack kind of a deal.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
it's not a scam, then
If it's not a scam.
Yeah.
The things that are stacked up against it, if I had to place a bet for it or against it, I'm probably going to bet against it working.
But it's worth looking into.
I'm looking at
because it just might be exactly what they claim. It might not be, but it might
could
be. Look, I'm open to the same opportunities, but it's very rare for me to get those. Now, you know, back here with this person in the chat, Gaddag says, by turning on memberships, isn't that how channels die? Because the algorithm doesn't push or recommend videos to new viewers when everything is members only. So I don't know that you can hear yourself, but you're thinking in terms of a television commercial. Well, the advertising model that you are referring to was in place, I'd say, before the pandemic. Then yes, you are true. And what you're saying is true. But if you actually made content, and I can tell with a comment like this, you've never made content on YouTube, what you would know is what I'm telling you. We don't want to turn memberships on, and we don't want to close the channel. So which would you prefer? The channel is shut down or members? Those are the only two options. When I look at how much YouTube is paying me for my content with over 1,400 videos, just the advertising revenue, and we're talking about millions of watch hours every month. Are you sitting down? If you take the total amount, you subtract out memberships, and all I'm dealing with is YouTube revenue, it's about 50 cents per video every 30 days. If I have 1,200 videos earning 50 cents every 30 days, that's $600 a month. I can't even make half a house payment with that. It's not going to work. So it used to pay better. But right now, today, that's what it's paying if you want to be advertised, YouTube monetization. So whether or not you get 10,000 viewers or 20,000 viewers or 40,000 viewers, it's making about a 10-cent difference for about every 10,000 viewers. It doesn't add up. So either the channel gets shut down because you can't make content this rapidly, this often, and then have all the expenses of still having to live your life full time. It's just not going to. Try it. Just prove me wrong. It used to be, but it isn't today. And I didn't want it. I'm not saying I'm all for it. I'm just all for not shutting the channel down. And if you know of another way, that isn't me making commercials. If I or Doug, if either one of us want to make commercials, you can get a nice 90-second short reel that people want to watch, you know, show me the doom scroll, and completely unaware that 80% of what you're watching are all commercials. Did you ever see the movie Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, I'm sure I have, but I can't remember it.
Well, they're in the car, and the top 10 hits are old jingles to commercials. That's what the radio is playing as pop music in the future. And he's like, you know, just fast forward past that. And they're all happy. No, this is #1 on the charts right now. Oscar Mayer, hot dogs. And he's like, are you kidding me right now? And I feel like we're living in that universe where people are like, give us commercials. Your videos are too long. It's like, can you imagine trying to be a teacher in an elementary school or a high school? And your class is what, 7 hours of class every day? And your class has a 60-second attention span? How are they learning anything? And their argument is, why do we need to learn anything anymore? If I need to know anything, I just type it in. Copilot will give me the answer. What do I need to know it after that for? It's done. I move on to the next thing. You're old. You go, what happens if you don't have that anymore? Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. When I was growing up, the teachers did not let us use calculators in class because calculators were becoming a thing.
Right.
Did you have the same experience?
Oh,
You're not
yes.
allowed-
Oh, yes.
Okay. And what was the reason?
Because you wouldn't learn how to do the math.
What do you need to learn for if you have a calculator?
You need to understand the math. You need to understand the relationship of numbers.
The argument that my
you're
teacher
not-
saw
Okay.
was you may not always have a calculator in the future.
Right. Right. That was my next sentence.
Okay. Pretty sure there's going to be a calculator everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, but what if there isn't? How are you going to do it? What do you mean, what if? It's the opposite. You can't get away from a calculator if you tried. So, but that was the argument they used. What if there's not a calculator? You need to know how to show your work. Like you could use a calculator.
I do calculations in my head all the time, and I've seen you do it during your show without turning to a calculator.
That's because the teacher said, I don't care what you think, Carey, you're not allowed to use a calculator. I was forced to learn how to do it in my head because they wouldn't let me. They said, you can use a calculator so long as you show your work. Well, if I'm showing my work, what do I need the calculator for? Well, that'll double check your work to see if you got the right answer before you turn in your work to me. But not during a test. That's not allowed. But if you want to take your homework, show your work, double check it with the calculator, and then turn it in, I expect to get 100% from every test you feel, that you're doing. And then the other thing that they would do is they give you word questions that you couldn't easily use a calculator for. If Timmy boards a train in Chicago at 12 o'clock and that train's traveling towards New York at 75 miles an hour, and Billy gets on a train in New York, heads towards Chicago, and that train moves at 55 miles an hour, at what time of day will they meet up? And you're like, ah. Now, these days, you could probably open Copilot and just type it in. But I don't know how you translate that into an equation. Like that forces you to at least have some critical thinking skills to sort of break it down into pieces and then calculate it all out. I'm not sure I can answer that today. And speaking of Copilot, watching your videos and how often you pull up Copilot really opened my eyes to like more than just a search engine, right? It's Google or it's Copilot, who cares? It's a search engine. No, it really isn't. And watching you go through that, and I've dabbled in it, really inspired me. I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I never thought about using it like that. So because I'm watching you, I said, well, I'm going to try what Doug is doing. Well, now I can't stop. And now that I've gotten comfortable, now you're telling me you're using something else? You're not using Copilot anymore?
Well, I still use it once in a while. I have reasons why I'll use Copilot. I'll use Gemini. I'll use AI Studio, Google.com. I'll use it's been a while since I've done Chat GPT. They all have some different strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, I sleep around in terms of AI.
You're an AI slut. No, and so what I'm doing is I'm trying to inspire my audience by pulling out Copilot and showing them demonstrations of how I'm using it, because that's what convinced me to take it from dabbling to like, oh no, this is basically replacing Google for me now. Searching is dead. Searching is so last year. Like Copilot is so much better, where you don't get all the advertising and stuff. So
well, yeah, that's okay. Great. I'll be continuing with the AI stuff, and as we're having this conversation, there's this part of me that just wants to say all this other stuff that I haven't even shown yet about what these products can do. Yeah, don't get me started.
Well,
I have not scratched the surface yet of what I'm actually, as far as showing what I'm actually doing with these tools.
Well, then I guess I'll keep watching your channel then.
There you go. That's the hook. I was even thinking of doing a whole separate channel on just showing my conversation histories with these different AIs, because the conversations that I've got into them, the useful stuff that they have provided for me for not just for computers, but for life has just been very, very valuable. Now, also on the flip side, the number of times when I've caught out the AI as being wrong, and I this morning I had a knockdown, drag out argument with an AI, and I won. I eventually got it to admit, oh, you're right, and that takes the professional technician to do that. Anybody who has not had the background and experience with the number of things I've had would have accepted what it was saying in the early parts of those conversations. So they still very much can be wrong, but they can be so helpful, and they can be so very right in some occasions, a lot of occasions, very much to make it worthwhile. Now, however, with a word of caution, I have had sessions with AI where I wind up thinking, man, did I just waste a whole bunch of time? I should have just done what my intuition and training and reasoning said was the right way to go from the beginning. But it by defending my position, I got a whole lot better clarity to why my position was right. And I could have given up. It's hard for me to give up the argument. Once I get into an argument with one of these AIs, if I believe I'm right, I've got to get to the point where I've got it to accept that I'm right, or that I've come to a point where I accept that I'm wrong and it was right. And there have been those occasions too. So very, very useful tool. There's a little bit of a learning curve to really get the most out of it. All right.
Yeah, it's not perfect. The answers it gives they're not always correct. Some of the things I enjoy is just the pure entertainment aspect of it. Like, I can go open Copilot right now and say, who is Doug Betts? Have you ever done this?
I saw you do that with Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to do it to you now.
And I bet you it's going to come up with your name again.
Doug Betts runs the live Windows Training YouTube channel where he provides free computer support and tutorials focused on Windows systems. His channel features. What's that? Are you going to show the screen?
Are you going to show the screen?
Oh, you want me to show it?
The audience? Sure.
Okay, hold on, because this is StreamYard. Is a little bit, let's see.
It's a little bit above your skill level, are you saying?
Yeah, I'm a little unpracticed.
Ask Copilot how to do it.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. However, I don't want to lose the Copilot screen I've got open right now.
I know.
But you're right. Sometimes that thought doesn't occur to me that I could have just asked Copilot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like retraining my brain to go, why am I struggling with this when I can just ask Copilot? Right. I saw a content creator talk about one of the first things I do when I install Windows 11, I get rid of the bloatware. One of the first things that I absolutely can't stand that I take off is Copilot. That goes out right away. And he talks about other items he takes off that he considers bloatware. Then he says to his audience, maybe you can help me with this problem I'm having with a client. And I'm like, he's like, oh, and if anybody knows, please send me an email. You had Copilot.
Right.
He doesn't know it's taking his job. And so by deleting it and not looking at it, it's like an ostrich sticking its head in the sand, because your customers are going to figure this out and they're not going to need you anymore. Anyway, in the same video, well, he's saying what a waste Copilot is. He's asking a question that he could have tried.
Comes up with a need for it.
And likely would have gotten the answer. But he'll get there in his own time, one way or the other. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let me try. If I turn on my window capture to Copilot and turn that on, and then I probably have to go full screen. Oh, it's upside down and backwards, isn't it?
No, it's coming out correct.
Oh, it is. It looks backwards.
It's coming out correct for us.
Interesting. You
probably need to mirror your camera.
Yeah, there's probably there's a click somewhere. Okay, so
If
let me
you're
go.
Yeah, you need to get full screen for you.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's not showing the full width of the screen.
Well, it's an open window. I guess I can drag it, make it wider, maybe.
How about that arrow in the upper right that's for popping it out?
Is that better?
There you go. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Who is Doug Betts? You can mistype it. It knows what I mean.
Yeah.
All right. We got it?
Yeah. Yep, that's
He's known
showing up
for
on.
What's that?
It is showing up on stream.
It says he's known for engaging with viewers during live streams and solving real-time tech issues. Now, there's also an automotive executive. So we want to know about this Doug Betts. So this is the part I love doing. What are some of Doug Betts' tech educator, because I want to specify which Doug Betts, slogans? Did you know you have slogans?
I would not be surprised.
Free computer support for real people, live problem solving, real-time learning, handle any computer problem any day. Does this sound like you?
Well, the third one is one that I have used.
Oh, it says it appears in your titles.
Yeah. Yeah, the other ones sound like slogans that it has suggesting.
Doug's PC Help Desk, live problem solving hub. You need this now if you're the expert people rely on. The Windows Workshop, live fixes and insights, handle any problem. Okay.
Those are actually titles. Try memes. What memes are in his shows?
Doug Nets. Doug Betts' live Windows training streams are more about practical tech support than meme culture, but that doesn't mean they're humorless. His community's developed a few lighthearted, recurring inside jokes and meme-like moments that regular viewers will recognize.
Yeah.
Doug's PC Help Desk. This stream title has become a meme of itself. Viewers joke it's the place where every tech problem goes to die. In a good way.
I think there was
funny.
that one at least once.
You need this now.
Problem goes to die. Yeah. Okay.
Windows
In a good
Daily.
way.
The numbering has become a meta joke. Viewers sometimes tease about how high the count will go or what quirky issue will pop up next.
See, they didn't come up with such a Doug. That's
yet.
Yeah.
Because Doug works live and unscripted, unexpected moments like a system reboot midstream or a user accidentally unplugging their PC become instant classics in chat. Not so fast title. Viewer nicknames, regulars like Lawn Dog and Eric show up in troubleshooting stories, creating a kind of Dougverse. You part of the Marvel?
Yeah, there you go.
Where viewers become characters in the ongoing saga of tech fixes. Hey, it mentions me. Meaningful Conversations in Tech, where Doug teams up with Carey Holzman. The title becomes ironic because while the convo starts technical, it often spirals into hilarious tangent. I'm feeling very meta right now. This is very strange that it's talking about us right now.
Distracted boyfriend, Drake posting Galaxy Brain 2 buttons. I think it's suggesting some memes, I guess.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Want me to work up some meme captions? Yeah, let's see. Why not?
This is the spiraling part.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I don't really see anything too.
Nah. I think this is kind of
Doug Betts is the only tech support I trust. Change my mind.
Okay. Oh, have you tried turning it off and on again?
Doug, 5 seconds before solving it with a registry edit.
Right. I think we've had that during the show where solution winds up being restart.
Yeah, so they're pretty hilarious. What is Doug Bett's favorite PC manufacturer? Let's get into some controversy. He frequently works with HP, Dell, and Lenovo in custom builds. His real favorite might be whatever works best for the user. Hey,
Well, that's pretty good.
right?
I wasn't going to be surprised if it came up with B-Link. A number
Yeah,
of times
me
I
too.
make mention of that.
So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to think about. Like if I say new topic, and say, how can I make full-time income from YouTube? So you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours just to qualify for the ad revenue. So sponsorships, like we talked about, affiliate marketing, that would be, this is outside of YouTube. Basically, you work directly with you go knocking on doors and find somebody who'll pay you money for either affiliate marketing or sponsorships, or you create your own merch to sell. This is how these three right here make the most amount of money. And then you have memberships and super chats. Now, licensing and syndication might be an interesting outlet if you'll find somebody who'll pay for the content. And, you've got to post consistently. You got to have a regular schedule. You got to invest in good audio and lighting and good cameras. Anyway.
Go back up to the first of those, and because it's a specific to a comment that was made in chat earlier, that ad revenue, the 4,000 watch hours in the past 12 months. Somebody in chat earlier said that you have to upload a video at least once a month or they'll stop paying you. That is not true at all. However, a place where a person might have got that thought was this 4,000 watch hours, because some channels who have been monetized in the past have been monetized consistently. If they drop below that 4,000 watch hours in a year, you will lose in the last 12 months, I think it said, you'll lose your monetization. So that's where somebody might have translated in their head to a channel that, had lowered their frequency and therefore their watch hours lowered. But if your old videos are still producing 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months, you're fine, even if you haven't uploaded any videos during that time.
What if I show you a link that says if you don't upload at least 3 videos in 3 months, regardless, they're going to demonetize you?
I would be interested in that link because I have not seen that, and I'm going to be skeptical of it until I validate it.
Fair enough. So would I. If you do not create 3 videos in 3 months, I got to search for it because I've gotten the warnings.
That sounds like it is affirming what that person was saying.
So it averages like 1 video a month, but it could be 3 videos in 90 days. If you
the
average
person
it out,
was saying a video every 4 weeks, and that's what their ad would be averaging out to. Yeah, I haven't come across that, so I'm interested in seeing that. Because I just said it's absolutely not true, right?
Well, here's the thing. So the AI summary agrees with you that YouTube's monetization requirements involve having at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 valid watched hours within the last 365 days, or 10 million valid shorts views in 90 days.
Yeah.
But uploading at least 3 videos within 90 days is a requirement for one monetization tier. Oh, I think we're both right. So,
okay.
So the reason I mentioned this and the reason why I kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit is I have a couple other sub channels and I don't post frequently to those sub channels. And one's a mini PC reviews, the other's computer quick tips. And I want to monetize those because people are seeing those over there that have never seen them over here. And I'll just put all the quick tips together. I'll put all the mini PC reviews together. That way they don't have to sift through all of my content, right? If that's all they're interested in. And because they're secondary for me, I don't pay a lot of attention to it. So every once in a while, I get a message from YouTube that says, on your channel, and it names the channel. It says something like, we understand life gets busy. It's something like that. But since it looks like you're not making time for YouTube anymore, you're not going to be valid or qualify for ad revenue. But the way that AI just explained it is it may be that super chats are enabled, but the regular ad revenue isn't. Some part of the monetization is turning off because you have apparently abandoned the channel. So
Can
even
you
if the
show that?
channels, what's that?
You said you were going to show it?
Oh,
Let's
well,
see
if I
what
go
you
into
came up
Gmail, I'm sure I have the message in my Gmail.
No, not that. The Copilot.
Oh, the
The
search
Copilot
results?
statement. Yeah, the search result you did
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Copilot.
I wasn't sure that you were interested in seeing it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
Hold on. Let me, I go this button first, and then I go over here to this button, and then I change this button, and I click that button, and then I enable that button. No, that's not it at all. Hold on. Let's go to it. I was so close, man. All right. Now that button. There we go.
Monetization tiers, 2 tiers, tip jar, ad revenue, YouTube premium, or 10 million views, 3 million shorts. Okay, so where are you seeing? Oh, the inactivity, is that where it is?
Well, I'm looking up here. 90 days is a requirement for one monetization tier. So I'm not sure which of the two tiers.
Okay, let me look that over a little bit. Let me see the first paragraph so I can absorb it. Okay, YouTube's on to require involve at least 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, past 12 months, or alternatively, $10 million shorts within the last 90 days, while uploading at least 3 videos within the last 90 days is a requirement for one monetization tier. It's not sufficient on its own to enable ad revenue or other monetization features. Well, the 90 days kind of correlates to the shorts requirement. Now, going on, here's more detailed breakdown, monetization tiers. So those are the tiers, tier 1, tier 2. 2 tiers for monetization, 500 subscribers, 3 public videos within the last 90 days. There it is, 3 public videos within the last 90 days. So that's the tier 1 tip jar. In order to get that, you have to be doing within the last 90 days. Now, tier 2 is ad revenue and YouTube premium, which is what you and I care about. 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 valid watch hours in the last 12 months, or 10 million valid shorts. That does not have that 3 videos in the last 90 days. Neither of us are interested in the tier 1. The tier 1 is lower than our level. Inactivity clause. YouTube can also disable monetization for channels that haven't uploaded a video or posted on the post tab for 6 months or more, according to YouTube's help section. So that doesn't come from requirements. That comes from the help section, and that link right there takes you to more detail about that. See, I'm still skeptical of that because AI gets it wrong sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube can, not will, can also disable monetization. So it may be that there's other factors that go into disabling if they do that for that purpose.
Let me see if I can find the email of the warning I received that said, it looks like, life gets busy and we understand, and we're going to disable your monetization until you find some more time. It's very nice, isn't it? The way they present you with being financially cut off.
Hello, Martin. Hello, Martin Hogg. And Scott says he wouldn't be using Gemini if I didn't start using it. Yeah, Gemini, the aistudio.google.com. That, think of that as the big brother to Gemini. Gemini is under the covers, is the engine underneath aistudio.google.com. That is my new favorite.
I'm trying to find the email from. I wasn't prepared for this conversation.
Oh, did we go off script? Sorry.
Yeah, right. It's probably archived in here somewhere.
Oops, I wasn't supposed to admit that we use a script.
Shh. It's not on the script. I'll probably be getting another one of those pretty soon. And I think what I'll do is I'll forward it to you, or I'll look later tonight and see if I can find it. I get so many emails every day, and even a search, I'm having a hard time finding a keyword, or I have to go through every single YouTube. They email me constantly. Oh, this was approved. This wasn't approved. Here's your monthly newsletter for every channel you have. There's music in this. Do you want to blank it out, or you're going to share the revenue? Yada, yada, yada. It's in there. I'm not making it up.
I had another video takedown recently.
Oh,
took down one of my videos.
What happened?
Again, it is a nothing burger. It was an unlisted video, and the title of it was something like "After Delivery Orientation." I delivered a laptop to a client, and I was giving him an orientation, and I was recording it so that he could play it back later, because he would be the only one that would get the link to that unlisted video. And the takedown was because of bullying. They said that I had violated their bullying terms, I think it was, community standards. And in the past, what that has been is where I inadvertently had shown a list of contacts, again, on an unlisted video that was for private purposes. So there was no need, there was no priority over trying to, keep things concealed. But it's a nothing burger. It's not a strike. It doesn't count against my channel at all.
Yeah.
But it's just an ugly sounding email where they say, "You violated our terms of service for our community standards for bullying."
For bullying?
Yeah, bullying.
Oh, I suppose it's like doxing.
Well, yeah. If you're, that's exactly what it is. If you're showing people's private information on screen, but it was, not a public video, so wasn't concerned about that. But it's interesting that their algorithms are looking at my unlisted videos.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you had even a private video with nudity in it, and you said, well, this is a private video, it doesn't matter, it violates YouTube standards, and you're going to get busted on that. In the chat room, it was Dennis asking, how do some channels stay monetized with foul language? Foul language is allowed now. There's a YouTube creators channel if you want to follow it. YouTube's always changing the rules. They put those rules in place regarding foul language about 3 or 4 years ago, and now they're undoing those. They've already undone those rules. They constantly, YouTube does this all the time. They say, you cannot do this, and we will punish you. We will ban your channel. And then 3 years later, they go, oh, it's totally allowed now. So you're going to reinstate my channel? Oh, that's long gone. We can't help you, but you can start again. So in other words, you never really did anything wrong. YouTube flip-flops constantly. And it's based on the pressures they get from government regulators, as well as sponsors that, they're being restrictive or telling YouTube, we're not going to give you any money unless you stop this kind of content. Then the sponsors realize, well, they're losing money, and they go, you know what? There are some products that actually the best type of client for that product is somebody that would be comfortable with foul language. So we want our product to be, so all of a sudden foul language is no problem anymore. And they just associate the advertising according to the type of, because the advertisers can pick what kind of content do you want to be associated with. And now they're not just automatically punishing you under the assumption that all sponsors want the same audience. They don't. Products that are specifically for one gender or the other obviously want to focus on the gender that their product sells for. If it's a male, like a razor to shave, it's not really going to do much on a channel that focuses on makeup for females. So the advertisers, they have this ability to tell YouTube, these are the demographics. This is the age, this is the region, this is the content lifestyle that we're looking for. And so it's taken YouTube 4 or 5 years to realize, oh, we really screwed up here. And we need to bring the foul language back without punishing people. And that happened a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So the foul language that you and I both used towards the end of this, towards the beginning of this show, is going to be okay.
I don't think Apple is considered a bad word.
No. That's not the foul language we were using. We were talking about pigeons.
Oh, can I say cloaca?
I don't know that one.
Yeah, Google it. You don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I will. I don't know how I would spell that. All right.
You haven't lived on a farm.
No.
Okay. Well, education awaits. In the meantime, I suppose we're at our time, and I don't.
Oh,
see
yes. Let's.
I always enjoy hanging out with you. I appreciate so much
I
that you
do
come
too.
on and you share your time with us, and we can battle it out and have disagreements, and don't walk away going, that guy's a jerk. Well, I mean, you might, but you still come back. So I'm okay with it. But I'm really interested to follow up with you and how you end up deploying that Synology NAS.
Sure.
And I also understand you really like to figure things out on your own. Because sometimes I'm like, if he just asked me, and then I got to respect, if he wanted to, he would. So I understand when you're deploying that Synology and you run into some issues, that you work that out your way. But I do want you to know you can always reach out if you want some guidance or advice, because it is the first time.
Yeah, I understand that. No, I enjoy first times with products, and that's where, like what you're saying earlier, the credit card machines, the phones, whatever else, I go for all of those. I'll tell them that I'm not an expert in it. I'll tell them that, maybe I'm going to be your interface between the tech department for that device and you, because typically the reason why they ask me about those devices, because they've already tried working directly with the tech department of those companies, and they don't want to work with them. So I'll tell them, look, it's probably going to take me longer to deal with it. I may call them and work with it. And I've had many cases where that is my go-to, is I'll start with talking to their tech people, and I can interface with their tech people a whole lot better than my clients can. I have listened to them. I've had them call the tech department, support department of whatever device is involved. So I'm hearing their side of the conversation. I think, no, they're not going to understand what you're saying. You got to say this and this and this, because they don't understand how to talk on a technical level with somebody. So I am glad to step into those. Now, of course, my business model is different than yours. My business model, I'm charging for my time. My clock starts when I get there. My clock ends when I leave. What I'm doing during that time, I'm not so concerned about, even if we are talking about personal life stuff. Now, if they start that conversation, I'm fine sitting around in their office shooting the breeze. They know that I'm on the clock. And a lot of my clients don't mind that at all. They feel there is value in building that rapport. If I wasn't charging for my time sitting there with them, I'd have a different perspective about that.
I think let me ask you, let me see where your boundaries are. If a client
Okay.
said, will you take all the trash cans out for us, would you? Did you just go to every office in this office building? Under the desk, there's a trash bag. Would you mind just grabbing all those, putting a fresh trash bag in, and then out in the parking lot, there's a big dumpster? Would you go ahead and take care of that for us? We got to draw the line somewhere.
Never been faced with that question.
It's just that
I do have things that I have told that I won't do, and that currently is running wires through walls and ceilings, such like that. I'm trying to think of some example of something like that where I've been asked to do something that I said no to for similar level reasons.
when you are booking a schedule,
Yeah.
customer calls you. You say, I'll come out there Tuesday at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Client says, good. Do you not book anybody else the rest of the day because you don't know if you're going to be there 2 hours or all day? How do you do that?
I rarely have specific appointments.
What is that? So they call you today and you're available today?
Yes.
And you're just
Absolutely.
hoping the phone rings tomorrow?
No. I always have a list of things to keep me busy for billable hours that it doesn't have to be scheduled.
Like stuff you're doing there at the
always
office?
got, yeah. And stuff I have on my plate to do remotely, stuff I have on my plate to do at clients' offices. I will sometimes show up at their office unexpected because of work that I need to do there. And very commonly, they don't even ask what I'm there for, but they know it's going to be on my invoice because my invoices include the reasons for every billable time. But I can be here in the office. I don't have somebody to go out and do work for. So I'll turn to one of the many projects that is always available to work on. I'll start a timer and I'll work on that. And when I stop, the timer is actually the billing slip, the time slip through QuickBooks
You actually
Online.
run a timer, a real timer.
Well, I put in the start time on the time slip, and when I'm done, I put in the stop time, and it calculates the difference for me.
Whether you're doing it at home or on site.
Yes. Well, on site, the way it works is I go out and do the on-site service, then I come back here, and then it's usually here where I put in the time slip. And the way I deal with that is I have an app on my phone that tracks my travels. So I look at it to see when I arrived at their office, I put in that time. I look to see what time I left. I put in that time. It calculates the difference. Then I type in the explanation of what I did during that service call.
When I was working for another company, they would assign tickets to the techs. And when you finish that ticket, come back, we'll give you another ticket. And then they would gauge whether or not you were going to get a raise based on if the number of tickets you've done in that review period, it matches or is within the average of everybody else of your coworkers that you're working with. And as being self-employed and time is money, and I'm the only employee, I'm trying to get as much done in a day as possible. So there were times, not so much now, but a few years ago before the pandemic, where I would go, okay, I'm going to leave here. I got to go to the post office. Then from the post office, I'm going to go to this client and I'm going to be there at 1 o'clock. I'm allowing 2 hours to be there, which should be more than enough time just in case things run a little long. But then from there, I'm leaving and going to this other client and I need to be there by 4 o'clock. So I have a 1 hour window to get out of there, get in the car, get to the next place. Then I need to swing back around and either get something to eat or head home. And if that client in the middle says, oh, while you're here, can you take a look at this? And I don't have the tools with me for that because that's not what I brought with me. I brought with me what we talked about on the phone. I'm happy to look at it, but I can't. When the clock hits a certain number, I have to go. I have other people. And I've had this issue where when I was working for somebody and they assigned me a ticket and I go over and I go to the client site and they start talking to me like you're discussing. And then we wrap it up and I'm there 4 hours on a 2-hour job. And I write down I think I put down 3 hours, something. I didn't bill them for the full time. And they looked at the bill, shocked, and they go, "Why is it so much money?" I said, "I've been here 4 hours." And she said to me, "Can't you cut out the chit chat?" I said, "I did. Like, I cut out most of it. But when I come back to the office and turn that ticket in, the boss is he's paying me, right? He's paying me for 4 hours. Well, he's paying me for my whole day, but he needs to be able to pay me and pay the rent and pay the electricity and pay the advertising. How happy do you think my boss is going to be with me?" So for those reasons, when you talk about, hey, if a client wants to chit chat and I bill them and they don't have a problem with it, that is a different world than I've never had a client that was just okay with taking up time. And then when I give them the bill, that they just don't, oh yeah, if anything, if a boss overhears me talking to their employee and their employee's not working and I'm not working, I've been pulled aside and said, they have work to do today. So, and then I've seen them talk to the employee. I appreciate you guys get along and that's great, but there's a little too much of this and we need a little more. You've never had that?
No. Well, yes. You said, have I never had that? I have many clients who do not have a problem with the amount of chit chat that we have. I have had a couple of occasions in the past where there were employees in the office who were excessive with that. And I attempted to moderate that myself, but that the employer in one situation in particular, he was very, very on top of this particular employee because it's an ongoing habit for that employee. Between myself and the employer, we were able to manage that. Now there was a second one who was very, very much overbearing, and that's a client that I wound up firing because he was just a very disagreeable person on so many levels. So that one I don't count as qualifying. But I've had, and I recall another client now that I'm thinking about it, a construction company, who when I pulled up in the parking lot, he would make a big show of looking at his watch to see what time I had arrived. And he's a person who manages a lot of employees who are prone to, not be legitimate with their time. But in that environment, in that office, we did not do any chit chat. So if my client begins the chit chat, I don't have any problem with going along with it to some certain extent. I will try to steer it back to the business relationship before too long. But some of them have made it very, very clear that I don't need to do that. And they will chit chat as long as they want. Now, in one particular office where this is really prominent, they even allow their employees to chit chat socially with each other. It doesn't have to be reserved for break time. It just blows me away how they are very, very tolerant of that. And yet their business does very well. I'm not going to try to dissect why it works for them, but they seem to be fine with it. Now, somebody asked if I charge travel time, and the answer to that is no. And there's a very specific reason for that, is because I want to choose when I go where. And I also don't charge overtime. I don't charge for after hours work, because if I choose that I want to do the work after hours because it's more convenient for me, it's more pleasant for me, I can concentrate on the work better, I can be more efficient on behalf of my client's pocketbook, then I want to be free to choose to do that after hours or on the weekends. And I'm fine with outside of business hours and on the weekends, but that's because I live alone and I don't have any personal loyalty to an 8 to 5 job. And I will commonly take time during business hours that you might call leisure time, meaning I'm not billing for that time. Doesn't mean it's free time. It's not, but it's my refreshment time.
Yeah, and I think that the main difference between being self-employed and working for somebody else is that freedom of choice. You don't have to do a job you don't want to do. You don't have to do a job when you don't want to do it. The way that my billing works is yours is very traditional. Mine is very unusual, I realize. And I'm not trying to sell it to anybody. I'm just explaining it. I'm going to charge my customer a flat rate. And I do that for a couple of reasons. And now we're talking about not an end user, but a business that needs regular ongoing service. I don't want the stress and anxiety that comes with a panicked phone call. The building's on fire, stop everything you're doing, get over here now. I don't have employees to send, and I'm busy working on something when you call me. People don't seem to understand that. It's very stressful to be reactive. Now, I can't stop that from happening, but I can reduce the odds of it occurring. So by setting a retainer based on the average amount of what it's going to take to do the backups every month, what it's going to take to answer the number of support calls on average I get from their employees regarding various matters, there's kind of an average. I don't just come out of the gate with a number. We do it hourly at first. Then I say, hey, I can save you some money. Just like in Costco, when you get a big old thing of toilet paper, you pay less per roll. If you buy bulk hours from me, I'll charge you less per hour. Now, the advantage to this is I have an income I can rely on. I know I've got X amount of dollars coming in every month. You know, as a business owner, you have fixed expenses for your IT labor. For the whole year, you know what this is going to cost you. You know I'm not milking a job. You know that if it takes me 3 hours to fix something, it wasn't really a 1 hour job. Or if it should have been a 1 hour job, you're not paying me to get trained. So for me, this is the most honest way. And then it's like what sits with my morals. Now, if somebody wants to chit chat with me, I realize that's coming out of my pocket. And I want to keep the customer happy. I don't want any of the employees to try and tell the boss, get rid of that guy, he's a jerk. So it doesn't matter if the employee's the influencer or the one paying the bill. I want to make sure that I am polite and professional and courteous with every one of them. But at the same time, I'm also aware that I'm not getting paid for that, but it's the cost of marketing. It's just the cost. Instead of paying for commercials and coupons, I give away some time, keeps the customer happy, or at the very least gives them a reason not to go somewhere else. And when we talk about, when I schedule a call and somebody's got a problem, I go out there with the tools and equipment and the amount of time buffered that should be more than enough to fix that problem. If I end up abiding by them and they say, oh, well, you're here, can you look at this? And next thing you know, I'm there 4 or 5 hours. I can't get to the next client until tomorrow. But I have clients scheduled for tomorrow that now I have to push to the day after. And there's a chance that those clients go, never mind, we don't need you anymore. We figured it out. And now I've lost the money. So that is the great tightrope walk. And there is no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no right way to do it. You have your method that works for you. And it's honestly, it's probably a better method in the sense of the amount of revenue that you can generate. My revenue is already decided. So in order for me to boost my revenue, I have to get more clients, or I have to sell an additional service. Say, hey, I can take over. I can offer you a cheaper alternative to your phones. And then I can start building a recurring income every month on their phones that I'm not doing now. So I can either upsell the clients I have with services they might be buying somewhere else, which I'm not comfortable with. One great example is I was at the Unplugged Tech Conference. And somebody said, what do you do? That we had like a panel of techs. They said, what do you guys do if a client wants you to do something you don't do? And I put my foot down and I said, I tell a client, like this really happened. A client said, I got a problem with my iPhone. So I don't work on iPhones. I told you before you bought the iPhone, when you were thinking about buying it, that if you bought it, I cannot help you with it unless you want to buy me an iPhone and pay for the service. And then as I learn it, I'll teach you. But other than that, I don't know it. And he asked this question 3 or 4 times, and I kept giving him the same answer. And he had had enough. Carey, I know this other client of yours, and I know they have an iPhone. And I know this other client of yours also has an iPhone. Don't you think you ought to be fixing iPhones? And I said, you might have a GE refrigerator, and they might have a GE refrigerator, and they might have a GE refrigerator. Does that mean I should start fixing GE refrigerators? And the audience was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, stop. That is not the right answer. And then I passed it off to another person on the panel. And I said, what would you do? And they said, I would say, I know a guy who fixes GE refrigerators. I would say, I know somebody that fixes iPhones. And then what I would do is I would refer them with a commission. And I'm like, see, now I knew when I said it, the audience would get hyped up about it. But the real smart business answer is whatever the client wants, you figure out how to give it to them. Never sell them, never tell them no. And if you want to be successful, I think the great way is to just outsource and provide solutions, even if you're not the one doing the work. Like you don't want to do cabling, but I bet you know somebody who does that you could refer, and maybe you might make a little off of that.
No, I don't make commission off of it.
But do you refer them? Do you go,
I do refer them. Yes,
okay.
I do refer them.
But you do realize you could say, I'll take care of that for you. And then you hire them. And then you tell them to bill you, and then you bill the client.
Yeah. Well, what happens is if I do handle it for them, then I am charging for the time that I'm calling the other technician, the time that I'm perhaps meeting with them at the office. I'm billing for all of my time associated with handling that for them. And that way I don't have to do the negotiation with the other service provider. And my client pays that service provider directly.
But you're getting paid for your time, whereas the only way I get paid, see, there's a different motivation.
Yeah, it's a different business model. Now, let me answer Dennis's question. To me, how do you handle the emergency calls? Different than Carey's reaction. If I get a call, something's got a problem right now, we need you to come out and fix it. I am on it. I am enjoying life. This is my jam. I'm going out with a cape flying behind my back. I am Superman. I am coming to the rescue when they are have this thing that has just got them all up in a tizzy. They can't work. This is what I live for.
But what about what they interfered or interrupted you from doing?
That's rarely ever a problem. If there's something I'm doing that takes priority, then they are going to take second chair.
Okay.
But that doesn't happen that often because I don't have that much emergency things that happen. I had an instance a couple of weeks ago, that I can go up to a cabin that is, I'm allowed to use it from one of my clients. And I go up pretty commonly, maybe a couple times a week. And I had an emergency happen while I was up there. And I might have no problem telling my client where I'm at. Taking a couple days working from up here, so it's going to take me a while to get down. So we worked on the problem by phone for a while. And I'm charging them for that time. That's a very inefficient way to deal with that problem. But that is just part of the way it works. They pay for the time that they use, even if it's under inefficient circumstances. I did cut my trip short and came down earlier than expected because they had an emergency need. Now, all of those emergency response issues are billed at my normal rate for that client. It's not a higher charge. The reason why I do that is because I don't want them picking and choosing when they're going to call me out of concern whether it's going to be a higher rate or not. The upside of that, I consider it an upside, is they call me earlier in the circumstance than they might otherwise. Now, some people might say, well, Doug, doesn't that mean you get more calls? Well, yeah, but I'm charging my time for it. I can't tell you how many times I ask them, did you try restarting the computer? And they say, no, I'll try that. So I'm on the phone with them while they're restarting the computer. It solves the problem. And I just charge them for a 5-10 minute call, whatever it is. Again, because they do this recurringly. They don't get trained very well, but some people don't learn the lesson, and they are obviously embarrassed by it. If I weren't billing for my time, I would be resentful of that. I would be wanting to, kind of pound it into their head. Before you call me, you should restart the computer. And if they keep calling me without having restarted the computer, how am I going to handle that over and over and over again? Well, it doesn't bother me in the least because I'm charging for it. If I'm out on the road or even at another client's office and I get an incoming call and I take that call, even while I'm on the clock for another client, I'll talk with them on the phone, resolve the issue. Let's say it takes 15 minutes. The client on the phone is going to get charged for 15 minutes. The client who I'm on site for is going to get 15 minutes deducted from their bill. So I can be very responsive even if I'm at a client site. My client who I'm at their site, when they see me taking a call from another client, they have seen this on their bill before. It'll be in all caps at the end of the time slip, 15 minutes deducted while servicing another client by phone. So they know that they're not going to get charged for my time spent on the phone with another client. And they know that when I'm at another client's office and they call me with an urgent issue, that they're more likely going to be able to get through to me because that's the way I work with all of my clients.
I kind of force my clients to save money whether they like it or not. I also don't want to do all the work you're doing. I don't want to write all the paperwork up and take track of all the time. If they have a problem, call me. It's not going to cost you anything. If it's restart your computer and it's the same person that keeps, and I really haven't had that. Usually after the third time, they kind of catch on. But I say, just so you know, before you call, if you want a faster answer, just try restarting the computer first. And then if it's still occurring, then call me. Probably could resolve this faster. But if you want to keep calling, that's fine. Now, if they keep calling, and I realize the amount that they're prepaying for is regularly going over, then when it's time for contract renewal, I say, look, 15 hours a month isn't cutting it anymore. We need to go to 20 hours a month because there's been a pattern of your use cases changing and you're depending on me more. And by the way, if they were depending on me less, once again, when it's time for contract renewal, you don't have to pay me 15 hours. You're only using about 10 hours a month now for the last year. It's averaging out to 10. We can lower this down for you. So I'm always, and that's probably what's keeping me from being a millionaire, but I'm always able to adjust according to a new pattern. If it's just a couple of weeks, they're in trouble, they're in the weeds, and I'm putting more hours in than they paid for, I'm okay with that because in the next 8 months, when there's no problems, they're paying me more than I'm actually putting in. So I'm earning a profit the less I work. It's in my best interest to make sure they're up and running with as few problems. If I can do that, I make more money. So at the end of the year, if I'm finding this isn't making me money, I have to adjust the contract. So it's just a different way. And in that way, I don't have to do all the, I hate the paperwork.
I'm okay with it.
All right. Well, listen, I absolutely love this conversation.
All right.
And this side of business isn't really what you hear from most YouTube tech channels. And if people are interested in how it's different from enthusiasts, this is a great example of there's no right answer. Doug's going to run Doug's business Doug's way. Carey's going to run Carey's business Carey's way. And if you work for yourself, which is what all YouTube content creators pretty much do, you have to decide how you're going to be able to pay the bills and offer a fair service. And there is no service that I'm aware of that's free that can be sustained. Somebody has to pay for it. And when you do something for free, you get abused. Anything that's offered for free will invite abuse. People will rarely pay to abuse you. Now, if they'd like to, I'll give you my rates. And I think it's just an important mindset that an enthusiast doesn't necessarily have. That's not better or worse. It's just a different perspective on why we're doing what we're doing. And that there's so many different ways to go about it. You just do the way that works for you. I've experimented. I've done hourly billing. I've done all these different things. This is what works for me. I'm sure, Doug, you've probably changed your business model from day one and how you were running the business. You've probably changed some things or some policies now where you're like, not doing that anymore, or I'm not charging this for that service anymore.
There's been some of that. The basic business model has always been the same. One thing that I did change, I used to have different rates for different clients based upon when they came in, and I eventually got away from that. So now it's the same rate for everybody, just because it simplifies things for me.
But that's an example.
I have to keep trying. That's an example. Yeah.
And that's,
I used to run cable. Then I stopped doing that.
Again, me
so
too.
yeah.
I stopped
Changes.
doing it too. I might run one. That's it. Clients like, look, everything's good. I just need this one room. Okay.
I've done that.
But I'm not, if they need a whole, yeah.
I started my business building custom computers. So there was a time when I stopped that.
Another example. Yeah. And so this is normal. And to say, well, how does Doug do it? That doesn't mean that's the right way for anybody else. It might be, but it might not be. Because at the end of the day, it's your work. It's your bills. Your response. You can't say, well, this is Doug's fault. I guess you could, but I don't think it's going to get the bills paid. It's not going to make the customers any happier with you. And so when you're held 100% accountable for paying the bills and making sure your customers want to keep coming back, it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or how they do it. It matters how you do it and what works for you. And also where you live. Doug's in a relatively small city compared to me. And I'm sure that the type of work that's available to him, what's the 5?
That's 15 minutes to get anywhere in Fresno.
That's it.
That's why I don't have to charge travel time.
Okay. In Phoenix, Maricopa County, it's 500 square miles. So it's one of the largest areas of states in the United States when it comes to big municipalities. I think it's in the top 5. So if I'm in the bottom corner and I need to get up to the top opposite corner, that could be 90 minutes in the car. Nonetheless, if you're in New York City, maybe you ride a bicycle. You know, if you're in Podunk, Idaho, there's work everywhere. But the cost of what you charge is based on how much does it cost to live where you're at? What kind of work are you doing? What are your competitors charging? And do you charge for travel? Well, in some places that makes sense. In other places it doesn't. That's why for people looking for the, how do I do it? You know, give me the answer. There's no one answer. You have to, if you're not willing to figure that out, you shouldn't be self-employed. I think that's the bottom line. But listen, thank you again for hanging out. We've gone way over, but wow, it was really getting good there.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop now, but we need to, and we'll save it for the next show.
Okay.
And you're on just at this point, what, Saturdays only?
Yeah, Saturdays only. It's killing me. I so much want to get back to 6 days a week, but I just don't see it happening for a while.
Well, in the meantime, at the very least, if you want to watch and interact with Doug during his live show, we have a link to his channel down below. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, but plan on every Saturday from about...
It's 11 a.m. Pacific time.
To when?
For 2 hours.
And then periodically throughout the week, maybe you put
There
up a show?
there may be a surprise showing, like today is a surprise showing to the audience. And there may also be a edited video coming out once in a while.
So all the more importance to turn the notifications on and subscribe so you're made aware of that. Otherwise, you can expect to see them Saturdays in the early afternoons. And, you know, I watch every Saturday, and I hope other people who aren't already watching give you a shot, because if you like content like this, well, that's why Doug is here. We do a very similar kind of, similar but very different in many ways, kind of content coming from real working computer technicians, not just enthusiasts, which is just a little something different. And hopefully you appreciate that. And not you, Doug, but the viewers. And that's going to wrap it up for us for today. On behalf of Doug Betts and myself, thanks to Marlena, of course, for all the work she does in the administration of getting thumbnails, that really cool intro, descriptions under the videos, all of that she handles. And thanks to all of our members for making these videos possible, with a special thank you for our guest, Doug Betts. I'll see you all again very, very soon. And until next time, bye for now.
Thank you.
Oh, were you going to say it? Until next time.
Bye for now.
He's got it.
Trained.